Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome here to Series Z Apex Legends. My name is Yeso. I will be your host tonight as we continue to charge through a hell of a season here. It's Season 5 for Series Z Apex Legends. It's crazy to think that we are well over a year into Series E, and we are still going strong. This season has been incredible so far, and I can't wait for more. And you won't have to wait long. We got 6 games ahead of us here tonight. Now, for the folks at home, maybe you're new to Series E, new to Esports Arena, I do want to break down just how things work for you all so you know what's going on. Now, Series E is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join. It is across 3 different titles. We've got Guilty Gear Strive, Halo Infinite, and of course, Apex Legends. Now, the way things work is players and teams, they compete in our open qualifiers, and the best of the best make it into Series E. Now, what does that mean for them? That means players, they get to sign a contract. They get a monthly salary, they get sponsored by one of our partner brands, and they get to compete weekly for points and prize money. In Apex Legends, it's every Tuesday night against other open squads, just like these teams used to be themselves. And then every Wednesday, they play against some of the best pros from all across North America. I'm talking 100 Thieves, TSM, Cloud9, and more. So if you and your friends want to get in on the action, make sure to head over to matcherino.com/ESA. You can also use exclamation point sign up in Twitch chat right now to get the link that you need. And if you have any further questions, esportsarena.com has you covered. Now, as we turn our attention to tonight's competition, of course, it is Razer week here at Series E, so we certainly will have a nice focus on Team Razer, a team that has had a bit of a rough start to the season. They have been mired in some difficult nights of competition. They have had flashes of brilliance, but really haven't been able to put together a complete performance. We'll have to see if this week, while the spotlight is on them, is the opportunity that they could take advantage of. Of course, Team Intel remains at the top of our standings, and the competition very tight at the top of the table. Nerf, Vizio, and Excedrin all really neatly packed there inside of that top 4. And of course, everybody is trying to compete to hold on to their spot going into next season. So keep an eye on all of the partnered squads as they compete here tonight. Of course, we'll have 3 games on World's Edge to kick things off. Then we'll be headed over to Storm Point to close out the day, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. Do want to remind you guys of a couple things before we jump into the games here tonight. One, as it is Razer Week, I do have to give you a nice little recommendation. If you're looking for some new products to upgrade your at-home setup, Razer has got you covered, okay? I cannot recommend enough the Viper V2 Pro over there. That mouse is incredible, very light, does exactly what you need it to do at all times. So grab yourself one of those, as well as the Black Shark V2 Pro headset. I use that exact same one at home every single night. Crystal clear audio, very comfortable, exactly what you need to game at your best. You can pick both of those up and more, and products from all of our partners over at walmart.com/esports arena. Another thing, all throughout tonight, one thing I want to talk about is I'm going to be giving you my early season MVP candidates. There's still plenty of Apex Legends to play before we close out Season 5 of Series E, but I want to talk about 3 players here tonight that have stood out to me so far this season, and I will be highlighting those in between games all throughout tonight. So make sure to stick around. I want you all to hear my thoughts on who our standout players here so far in Season 5 are. But let's not waste any further time. My good friends Jamerson and Zephyr are ready to bring you all the action, so let's kick off another night of Series E.
You are the...
All right, welcome everybody.
Series E Apex Legends.
All of World's Edge explodes into chaos, and G2 around the corner, taking what is rightfully there.
War with our Ash player, Musin follows, and it's going to quickly switch to the Peacekeeper, putting down damage quick as
that Fury starts it off with the devotion and does so much work. May have single-handedly clutched it for Vizio, and with the last shotgun shot, does it
Let's get the games underway, man. I'm ready to go. All right, welcome everybody to Series E. It is open week here for Razer Week, and hopefully we have our servers working well, hopefully this week, because I do have Zephyr joining me on the cast. Zephyr, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's been a hot minute since we've got some Apex here. We've kind of come off of this big break with a lot of teams, especially some of our pros competing towards that championship. And now that we've kind of now maybe gotten back into the swing of things, everyone's just getting ready, and not only players, but us included.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, unfortunately, we did have to cancel some of our nights last week. Hopefully, this week our servers will be good. If not, we do have a fail-safe. We have a fallback for the competition tonight. But let's talk about what we will do if the servers are working well. We've got 6 matches that will be taking place tonight. We've got 3 matches, of course, that will be on World's Edge. And then we'll be moving on over towards Storm Points. We have $500 on the line, and it's going to be the top 2 teams that'll be walking away with their share of that $500 prize pool. And it's going to be the top 2 teams that, of course, score the best over those 6 games. And it's going to be ALGS standard. Placement points matter along with the kill points. And when it comes to these open nights, we always have to talk about it. We know how aggressive our teams like to play, and these kill points really end up mattering.
Yeah, other than that, though, you can see in front of you the 20 squads that will be joining us alongside, of course, our 6 partnered. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did y'all get to take a look at Mike and Ike as they had officially kind of breached what was their partnered status last week? Because I didn't get the opportunity to be a part of those games, but I am curious to hear that real quick.
Yeah, no, Most Hated getting brought on as our 7 partnered squad. Mike and Ike is going to be Marstream's Based and MJ. And it's been interesting because they do immediately change the landscape of how Series E has been playing out. I mean, if we look at Team Excedrin, they had their run of World's Edge, having control over Thermal Station. But the introduction of Most Hated and Team Mike and Ike now means that Excedrin have to change up their game plan when it comes to World's Edge. But let's talk about some of the some of the open squads that we're going to be taking a look at. So Spectre Esports has been a team that's been coming in left and right, but Start a Fight, I think, is going to be one of the most important squads to watch, especially in game number 1, because here on these open nights, Team Start a Fight ends up walking away with the first victory of the night.
We'll see if they're able to follow suit going in today's open night. But other than that, obviously, you can take a look at Oxygen, a team that's been ripe here across all of our Series E Opens, and sometimes even the pros when they get a little bit more lucky. Other than that, some names that maybe aren't too familiar to y'all at home, but I have seen here across some of the North American scrims in recent weeks. Valk, the squad with Lane Saws and Miles, has found some recent success in some other tournaments, so maybe a little bit more of a dark horse pick.
Yeah, it's been great to see Lane coming back into competitive, but definitely for sure, you know, longtime competitors, Team Fire. We used to play back in the day with Bowser and such, and so we've already gotten some highlight reel performances coming out from Lane, so I'm glad to see him here in Series E making a run for it, and hopefully when it comes to qualifiers by the end of the season, he can put himself along with the rest of Team Valk in a great spot. But when we talk about Valk, I mean, we have to talk about I think the change in the meta that's been taking place since we had our championships taking place last week, or well, 2 weeks now. It seems like, but we're seeing a huge shakeup in the meta. We're seeing a lot of Seer usage. We even got to see some Ramparts. It's been a pretty exciting time in competitive Apex Legends.
Right. I think there's been this, I mean, obviously we come from a huge plethora of this kind of sit-down bunker composition, the Valkyries into your Gibbies, and things are starting to kind of accelerate in the pace of action that exists for Apex, right? And obviously we can't talk about meta with, of course, not bringing up Furia after what was their incredible performance at the ALGS Championship, and they kind of led the pack, notably with what was their kind of Horizon Seer Valkyrie, and also on top of the Seer Fuse Valkyrie, right? So those two compositions have slowly made their impression. Not so much the Fuse one, but definitely Horizon and Seer finding more of a pace in this meta. That mix of heavy information as well as the wombo that also persists.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, especially if you're a team that's maybe looking to try and third party with the Seer, just immediately denying any kind of reset with his abilities can easily contribute to a third party fight if you end up finding it. We'll see, though, because we know that here on Open Nights, we're going to have a lot of action taking place. And so when we get into match number 1, we're going to have to keep an eye all across the map. Again, we know that things have been shaken up a bit with the addition, like we said, of Mike and Ike. Excedrin have changed up their drop spot. They're not into their more comfortable 50-50 spot down at Thermal Station when it comes to World's Edge, when they are going to have to change things up. We know that here in the Open Nights, we're going to see a lot of 50-50s just off the get-go.
Yeah, Absolutely, and we'll see how that particularly fares. Something I am curious about, I believe Intel's running with Hakula, Mooney, and Impulse. Now, I haven't been particularly paying attention to Intel, but did they actually make the trade and pull away from James Fearless, or is this a tonight-specific thing?
I'm not entirely too sure. I know that he's been feeling unwell, and that was, the big thing before. So it could just be that he's still feeling unwell at this moment. We'll find out, though, and when we get into game number 1, whether or not this is the roster that they will be fielding tonight. Because, I mean, with Fearless's addition to Series Z since last season, I mean, we know that this Team Intel squad can go absolutely ham. I of course, as much faith as I put into Fearless, this squad itself looks solid as this 3 as well. So I feel like they should be able to just keep moving forward without skipping too much of a beat. Here in the open nights, like we said, Team Intel, that's where they like to get aggressive. We saw them in the back end of season 4, where they were just absolutely dominating on the open nights. Were able to put down 100-point nights frequently. They haven't been able to do so much this season as a lot of our other partner squads have been able to pick up the pace here on the open nights.
Right, but we did see a little bit more level of consistency, especially coming out of last week's what was our kind of double open night scenarios before some of the things were, of course, canceled. It was Intel who was actually kind of leading a little bit of the pack, I believe, with 1 winner on their belt, and then also kind of retaining some top positioning. But with those teams out of the way, as you guys can tell, we're already making our way towards our first game.
Yeah, here we go. Heading into game number 1, like we said, the first 3 matches of the night will be taking place on World's Edge. And since we've made this competitive change in Series E, it leaves very little time for the other squads to really kind of flesh out the rest of their game plan. I mean, when you only have 3 games to adjust, when you only have 3 games to figure out if you need to change your drop spot, that's not much time at all, as it looks like we are getting fair spread across the map so far. 2 teams, of course, going over towards that Skyhook region for the time being. We'll see if maybe a third joins the fray there, but it looks like Team Intel, the first one's in a fight. We already have another team trading away kills so far, but Team Intel over here at Climatizer, Fearless is in. And he is in the thick of things, already getting 1 knock into Delt Daddy, trying to change up targets. Now he needs Mooney and Impulse to show up, and looks like they are here and ready for it, dropping down on top of that Seer. Mooney playing expertly around that bubble, getting the second knock, and now it's Intel left in a 1v2 to finish things off here at Climatizer.
And they make short work of Banana Hammocks there in what was their trade here towards Climatizer, but the action hasn't stopped. We pull all the way down towards the edge of staging here. Oxygen chasing out this squad, trying to pull away. They've already found 1 initial knock, but they continue to follow suit. Now, I don't know about the EVA A, but I don't think it'll be hitting much from a distance like that. So Oxygen, they got to carry themselves forward. Meanwhile, Good Vibe guys, Nerdy Esports, all eliminated. Oxygen do officially finish this one off.
Yeah, Protectable doing a great job of just making sure he's keeping tabs on the team inside of Thermal Station. That should be Mike and Ike's. Mike and Ike's, they've shown that they like to make the minute 30 push out of Thermal Station. And already 4 teams are gone here in round number 1. It hasn't even started closing yet. We haven't even been able to take a look at the ring quite yet, but it is pulling down here to the southeast side of World's Edge right now. We'll get a better look at it in just a moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one does go down to Dome and launch site, and that is what we are looking at right now. That trifecta, that open area between launch site and Dome. So a lot of teams are going to start positioning early. You can see that Excedrin are already at launch site right now, so they'll have priority on being able to establish their first spot.
Right, and you'll see a lot of teams here kind of carry themselves directly towards some of those POIs. I might actually give a little bit more of a preference towards Dome on this one, because I think it's going to carry even further down towards the southeast. But even if it does go for that kind of split that we do typically see towards the hill line there, taking, of course, the initiative to put yourself in one of these POIs allows for that rotation, given that you're not going to have many squads put themselves, well, we'll say directly out in the open kind of the minute this game starts here. But as it stands for now, there's a plethora of entities who still haven't quite even made their way through that first zone, whether it be their looting or potentially just scouting out the rest of that competition.
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. Yeah, right now, taking a look at Razer, they are running a crypto Wraith. And so this is a composition that we really didn't get to see that much. I mean, the last time I really saw it was maybe about a year and a half ago when people, when there were ways to kind of cheese around with the crypto. But this is a composition that can work. I mean, if you time that EMP with a good defensive bombardment, you can absolutely shell out a team who's really relying upon a dome. But we've got Team Excedrin in the fight right now, going for early positioning down by dome side. I believe this is going to be Spectre Esports on the other side of this one. Kimchi Lee doesn't have quite the loadout that he wants, but Cruzen has that roof control for him. Has to be careful. Enemy has already used his gravity lift as well, so a lot of the utility already gone, but it looks like Enemy gets the first knock on Cars 2. It's going to be the 3v2 advantage now for Excedrin, but the fight does get slowed down. There's a Caustic in the area now as Enemy charges forward. Brandon goes down, and now there's only Gordo remaining on the other side of this one. Excedrin should be able to clean this one up in just a moment, and there it is. Spectre Esports gone. Now Excedrin controlling all of Dome to themselves, and we're down to 14 squads.
And now they get some time here to kind of take a moment of respite, take advantage of some of the crafting that they have available, given that most squads won't be making their way all the way towards Dome in just a moment. Notably, Lee there, switching towards that charge rifle, getting himself set up for what will be, you know, the obvious standard Evo trading that we typically see from this Excedrin roster, especially once they put themselves into God Spot. A little bit further out west here, though, Nerf coming just on the southern end of Lava Siphon actually makes their rotation down towards Tree here, as they believe have, caught a squad out. Shield broken on the Bangalore. The smoke may be a little bit of a divisive thing to play into, but they still find damage. Turns, though, can take some time for a reset.
Yeah, they've already got the man advantage here, but they've got to be worried about the third party. You can see another team over by that tree side. Inside of the buildings all the way in the western edge. So Nerf can't really chase this one down as we've got multiple fights taking place. Messiah needs to back away. They don't have a bubble for this for another 20 seconds, so they cannot take the risk. They at least secure that thirst onto Eisen, and then they will go ahead and back off for now. They've gone their KP. They don't need to force the issue here. So good tactical retreat coming out from Team Nerf, especially not knowing exactly what teams might be rotating through. So they can go ahead and take the pit stop here for now. They have plenty of time to work with, as this is just round number 1. Another team has just been eliminated, and this pace of the match has been incredible. We're down to 12 squads already. Round 1 still has a minute and a half before it finishes closing.
Yeah, we just see Triple Z and Valk both eliminated, of course, bringing us to 12 there. And we talk about Game 1 kind of being this factor for Open Night, especially where teams don't have the best guise of, you know, what those drop spots may be or kind of what identities exist here on World's Edge. And as a result, you tend to see some of that aggression as no one is entirely confident in the rotations. And some teams, yes, are getting caught out by what are our more tenured rosters like our partnered squads. For now, though, we pull back towards Dome. Guppies have made their way through, and it looks like they might be finding impressive damage here onto Excedrin, but they don't actually go for any further take. Pushing into something like that looks like it would be far too difficult.
Yeah, I believe that's actually start of fight that's inside of that building. They're one of the teams that do have priority on that rotate coming out from the Hot Springs side, from the Geyser side. They are a team that also likes to run that Watson with Matt Pickett picking that one up. And so they should be in their Team Razer, though. They've made their way down here to the south. They're going to be playing that north wall. Really great position if you're trying to play off of KP and maybe gatekeep the teams that are coming in from the northern side. You'll have the safety of basically this eggshell to keep yourself safe from the teams inside of Dome proper. Nerf does seem to have found themselves in a fight. They've lost out on 2 currently. Unfortunately, they might be our 9th squad out in just a moment.
Yeah, you can see Oxygen there. We're the ones to start whatever's happening in that. We'll see if they close this one out. Razer, though, on the other side, not quite in the most defensive positions, playing off of this southern pillar of Dome. It's actually going to force Blako to utilize that defensive bombardment. Dome down, give the reset for nades there. Both teams here have expended the trade on this ability, so it's relatively even, but the forced push comes through. Box of T is lost. It dropped down. A PK makes it 2 here. 1 more up above. It's the Valkyrie sitting upon the rock, but I think it's plenty of time for Razer to balance themselves out now.
Yeah, that was a great push coming out from Razer, realizing that they did have one above them, and so they just go ahead and take that man advantage fight. They'll push out. Oxy Ares, though, will try and back away. Monty Gosu, a third-party attempt here, but you can see Oxyari's trying his best to fight back. Boxa T has gone down, but they've got the bubble here. It'll be the fast res coming out from Blake U just to keep them up, but still, Razer are not out of the water yet. They finish off Z Davis here, securing that thirst. And now, as long as they can stabilize, they'll be able to utilize a lot of the extra heals and the extra economy they'll pick up from this, but they're getting tagged from inside of Dome. They need to go ahead and play back on this north side once again. They are backing away as Blake U will reestablish control over here on the wall side, and the rest of Razer just picking up the loot here on the edges.
Right, gonna try to see if they can finish off the falling members here of Tyson, but from behind, it's actually once again a knock found here. You got Boxa T coming through to follow suit, and that will be it for Tyson. Just sneaking away, they finally picked that one out here. Now, Rez does come out. Blake, who should be relatively fine here, and whether rotations may hold, I think Razer is in a wonderful position. I have to say, though, just to kind of touch on it, they are one of the few rosters to not be utilizing that Valkyrie. So getting set up in kind of what is that end game spot is that much more relevant for Razer, because they really won't have that second opportunity to make a heavy, lengthy rotation when the time comes. Meanwhile, though, 2 squads have fallen, bring us to 8.
Yeah, I think for them, hold on just a moment, Motive finding themselves in a fight, but it looks like this is just going to be the tail end of it. Mooney getting finished off, that is intel out. We're now down to 7, but I think running Valkyrie lists, especially here on Open Night, is more than viable. As we've seen, so many teams have already got into fights. We're already down to 7 squads. Typically, we'd be down to maybe 14 on the hyper-accelerated kind of tempo that is Open Nights, but this is a level above that. But you can see how when the battlefield has been thinned out extremely early, you don't have to rely upon that Valkyrie rotate for a lot of this. So you can just really hoof it more than anything else. But Razer is pretty disciplined in their rotation timings, and so I think you can really go without that Valkyrie, especially in these lobbies. Right now, it looks like possibly 3-2-1 here for Mike and Ike. Never mind, that's just MJ off on his ones, just keeping an eye on them. We have about 3 teams. We got Vizio along with Excedrin and Start a Fight inside of Dome proper. To the north of them, we know that Razer are playing that north side of Dome, and then we've got Mike and Ike's just outside to the southwest. So that's going to be 5 of our 7 teams currently here already at Dome.
Yeah, they made much a similar bet to me early here regarding playing for that Dome and just setting themselves up. We'll see how that one pushes a little bit further on, especially given that there is no particular beacon scan here. So what might exist right now will very quickly be removed as our zone closes in. But yeah, 7 squads remaining. It would be very rare to see any level of action continue forward at this point, right? I mean, there's so much spacing to play. Even if you're not one of the 5 squads here in Dome, you quite literally have all of Vault, all of Launch Site, even some of the valleys outside of Lava Siphon to still work with if you're not looking for anything right now.
Yeah, we still have to go through round 3, round 4, round 5.
Yes.
So ostensibly about 8 minutes, 9 minutes of downtime essentially at this point, because all the fighting has already taken place here in rounds number 1 and 2. Already down to 7 squads here. And really at this point, any team that makes a push, unless they get the instant 3-player knockdown, it's going to be an instant third party. So you're kind of just throwing at this point. So it's all about patience as that ring does continue to pull to the eastern side. Very classic circle over here at Dome. It does seem like one team is getting pressured on the outs. They are the team playing outside of the TSM trucks currently. As Vizio, trying to keep an eye on that for the time being, will go ahead and lock up. Sung playing that caustic, has the barrels out. And they'll have full control over these buildings. We'll see if this continues to pull inside of Dome.
Lots of flexibility in terms of these compositions. Once again, we see another iteration here with, instead of the Gibraltar that has been slightly more prevalent along the Valkyries here, it's that caustic. And for a setup in buildings like this, I could definitely see what might be useful regarding this legend pickup. Granted, though, if we do see the collapse kind of start to pull out a little bit further, it does bring some questions, but we both know that caustic can be an aggressive entity. You pull into any kind of fight there, maybe even as to third party. A Nox gas grenade can mean the difference between life and death sometimes. But I'll tell you what, Jamerson, I am in love with the flexibility that has continued to exist for the meta as a whole here in Apex. And obviously some would say there are certain legends that are a little bit too extreme, Valkyrie notably, but I think something like that allows for these kind of combinations to exist.
Yeah, I love this current iteration that Excedrin are running, having that Horizon along with that Valkyrie, having two legends that can rely upon themselves to have some more verticality and create another dimension to a lot of these team fights is extremely powerful. For teams that aren't running that Horizon, they don't have that same kind of access to high ground. There are going to be certain rings, especially down here at Dome, where that Horizon can be useful. If it ends up pulling over towards that, towards the yellow tankers to the back, that Horizon can get the entire team up there with that gravity lift. And so the utility that she brings along, especially when you put it in combination with the high ground takes that Valkyrie allows, it's just so much flexibility for this. So I love this, especially because, again, there's so much fighting utility for this squad as well.
Yeah. Something that I mean, whereas since we got the time here, I think it's very interesting that we come off of champs with the main notable, winning iteration of Legends being Horizon, Seer, Valkyrie, and teams have kind of opted for a bit of mix. You can see it here on Motive, right there, they're running with it, but a lot of squads kind of playing back towards also still utilizing the Gibby due to its level of safety. We'll talk a little bit more in just a moment. For now, it looks like Mike and Knight caught out here towards the south. You see that Singularity down, but damage has already been found. Both Base, Stola, and MJ gonna have to take some time to go for the reset, but they're already being chased down.
Yeah, the Seer ultimate is down, but that just shows them that a team player is just creeping on them, not able to get a hip fire there. Eva 8 isn't going to trade. There we go. Based with that PK, won't get one, but Motive are able to clean up Mike and Ike. And now we're down to 6 full squads. This ring is pulling directly inside of Dome. And so Motive clearing out this side will make it that much easier for them to be able to walk in through the eggshell. Razer keeping an eye on them for the time being. But then it looks like they're not going to have to move either. They should be safe in the next zone. They've got the Kraber in the hands of Blake Yu as well. It's going to be a huge difference maker in these late game fights.
Still, though, it is a large question regarding how these rotations will kind of come out. Notably, Razer, obviously, with the lack of Valkyrie, but I think they're more than close enough to make it happen here. But still, there's so many squads that kind of made the early Dome prediction that most of the real estate that was available is heavily contested here. So even taking a fight going into it could spell the end of not just your squad, but anyone within the area here. So definitely going to see what exists in terms of the identities and decision making as we approach this next close here, or at least I'd say zone 5. But for Razer, it looks like it won't even be inside the dome that they'll have to deal with. They've got to take this fight first.
Yeah, Razer showing their hand, taking a couple shots with Kraber, not quite connecting. Nades has been doing actually a lot of damage there, trying to poke and prod at that squad across. Boxa T will go ahead and finally join him. Now, they don't really have to clear out this squad because they do have this north side open for themselves, but they realize that the state of the game right now, we're at 6 squads. You can easily count on the 4 teams being inside of the dome right now. No one wants to leave their buildings, so this is a largely isolated fight. So I like that they're trying to pick and prod here. Blink will go ahead and join up with this 3-man, try to force the issue, double checking behind them just in case someone goes for that Valkyrie deploy to take the eggshell top, but they are in the clear for now. They don't hear anything so far. Now with the Kraber in hand, it looks like that team will go ahead and back away. Vizio, though, just going to go ahead and check the outsides. That yellow tanker we were talking about just before. They need to keep an eye on it. And now it looks like Blake Yu finally does connect. Gets a knock onto Monty Gosu. Like he said, this should be a free fight for Razer on the outside. Blake will try and get a secondary shot. Boxa T taking a lot of damage. They're going to go ahead and finish off Stanky. And now there's only one player remaining in that fight. Razer should be able to clean up as Trev actually ends up getting a knock onto start of fights Aves, but should be safe inside of a building. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to punish that knock.
This is a big rotation for Razer, but I think no one's really paying attention. As a result, Guppies are quickly cleaned out, bringing us down to 5. And as you said, though, that should be an isolated fight within the building. Doesn't look to be. Matt Pickett also falling as well. And even Porton taking a brunt of the damage here from another Kraber, obviously, on that map. For Razer, they start making their way in, but here's Motive.
Yeah, Motive making the push inside. They've gotten 2 knocks here, but plenty of time has basically, expired here, and they're going to go ahead and throw down that Seer ultimate. They cannot go for the resets. This is the oppressive nature of that Seer. Once you have all that information, once we are into close quarters combat, you can continually deny just reses. They're trying to go for the safe play to try and finish off these knocks. Trev will get one more knock onto Sung, and it looks like Vizio on the verge of getting knocked out here in just a moment. They're going to secure one more thirst onto Sung in just a moment, and there it is. Vizio end up getting knocked out. We're down to 4 full squads remaining. Motive have the south side of the map under control. And now, round number 5 will close up, and we're about to head into the late game.
Zone here definitely pertains to Motive as it currently stands. Obviously, like you said earlier, you got to worry about the silos, and they've already been taken, as we can see from up above there. So maybe not as it stands currently. For start a fight, they're on the very, very edge of this building, pylon down. No one's coming inside.
Yeah, it seems like Vizio got involved. Motive were getting knocks on to start a fight. I believe Aves and Matt Pickett had gone down, but Vizio might have tried to come in for a third party. Rakinishu getting a knock onto Nades here. I don't know if they can really follow up on that one again. We're just in this really awkward state. 4 squads remaining here in round number 5. Doesn't really leave you with many options to try and poke out Rakinishu as soon as he heads out. Crows is on top of him, and he gets the knock. Motive going to go ahead and push forward now, trying their best to play around the Newcastle ultimate here, but Motive, again, cannot chase too far in. The knock onto Aves, and now they're looking to finish things off against start a fight, but they're getting flanked here. Now Razer are knocked out.
Razer picked apart by both squads here. It looks like Start a Fight providing most of the damage early there, but it looks like we're kind of down to our final 2 squads, that being Motive and Excedrin with 1 rat to boot here. And now Motive have been kind of tied on to most of the control here, now taking that building more pressively. You can see Trevstack still on top of those silos, putting damage down where it counts. The rotation here from Excedrin going to be a big question, especially now that they don't have Dome to work with.
Yeah, they still have plenty of time, though. 15 seconds before the final ring starts closing. As you can see, Matt Pickett trying his best to survive, but Motive are right on top of him. Matt Pickett tries to stand his ground, but he will fall. It has now come down to the final 3v3. Motive versus Excedrin here, but Motive have them pinned down into basically just one entrance. There is one more exit back there. Someone just needs to keep an eye on it, but they have full high ground control. They've got a Kraber beaming down on top of them. Now the nades coming in along with that wombo combo as they charge forward. Motive maybe starting off with a huge 25-point game. They've gotten 2 knocks onto Excedrin, leaving only enemy up, and he does throw down that black hole, that singularity. I don't know if it's going to be enough. He does get the knock onto Tua, bringing this one down to a 2v1. Enemy just will charge right in front of them, and in the 1v3, Enemy might be able to do it here, but he's not able to connect with the hip fire. Motive somehow survive. Excedrin come in second place, but what a finish.
Just barely there to Excedrin, maybe find a return, but it is Motive. At the end of the day, the level of aggression that comes from a comp like this eventually did provide towards their success. It was that initial kind of punchy take that led them to get that first drop, which then kind of paid dividends as that fight closed out.
And we saw at the end there that they had a lot of kills. So this could be a 25, maybe even 27-point game for them to start off game number 1. Excedrin, we didn't see them that active really throughout this match. So even though they end up getting that +9 for second place, I feel like maybe they picked up 5 kill points along the way. So it'll be about a 14-point game for them. So Motive is going to be starting off with a really strong commanding lead after game number 1.
Oh, I have to say, it's to be understanding here. You can see if we kind of pull back through some of these replays, they were one of the few squads that seemed to be really getting in the face past what were some of these initial drops. Obviously, these 50-50s happened, but it was really just Motive who was kind of taking it toe-to-toe from POI to POI, finding the additional 3 whenever they had the opportunity. And it's to no surprise that they're one of the few, teams that are actually running that hyper-aggressive composition that we saw Furia pull out during the championship.
Yeah, we only got to play like 1.5 games last week, and this seems to be the MO for Motive. Be very aggressive, and that's kind of the game plan that works out extremely well here on the open nights. You have to, of course, respect your opponents, but at some point, you have to feel that confidence. You have to understand that if you want to be able to team fight with the best squads, you have to just give them no respect. You have to make the pushes, and Motive have been able to do that, and Crows on that horizon has been able to utilize the high ground takes with that gravity lift extremely well. So congratulations to Motive for taking game number 1. We're going to go ahead and send it on back on over to the studio. Yeso will go ahead and break down game number 1 for us. So Yeso, take it away.
Huge win there in game number 1 for Motive, and that was a much more slow-paced game once we kind of got things rolling. A lot of action off drop, plenty of 50-50s, but things really settled down in the mid game, and we got a really long time with so many teams as we got quite a few looks at just well established in different parts of Dome and willing to kind of handshake it for quite a while until the zone forced those fights, and ultimately Motive is one of the teams, and is, I should say, the team that comes out on top in that one. Before we jump into what they were able to do there, I do want to talk about my first MVP candidate here for the early season here in Season 5 of Series E, and perfectly enough, we got a good look at him at the end of that game. It is Enemy. I want to pull up some of his stats here for you all. This was his stats coming into tonight's competition. Not lighting things off big time in terms of stats. 49 kills, 27 assists, averaging 1,000 damage per game. That's fine. Ranking 10th overall in Series E this season in kills. Not a huge stat line there for Enemy. And when you look at his teammates, Cruzen and Kimchi, they have very similar stats. But the thing for me is what we saw from Enemy at the end of that game, and what we have seen so commonly from him this season is just the clutch factor. I feel like almost every time we're jumping into Enemy's POV, he's winning a 1v2, a 1v3 clutch, and almost won that game 1v3. Up established on the high ground, able to get 2 really clean knocks, and then just a little bit short, forced to reload and can't quite win it out on that final kill. But Enemy has been this player all season long that has found himself between a rock and a hard place and has been very consistently able to get his team wins, to keep them alive in games, and that has been the separating factor for me for Enemy. He has been a standout player so far this season. He is a ranked grinder, and I think this entire Excedrin lineup is very talented. Kimchi, ton of experience here in Series E, as well as at other levels of competitive Apex. Cruzen has looked really damn good, especially this season, but Enemy has really separated himself with that kind of clutch factor he has had this season, and he is one of my initial MVP candidates for this season, and I can't wait to see what he does as it continues. But let's take a look at our champion squad, and again, make sure to stick around the rest of the day. I have 2 more candidates that I do want to talk about as the day continues. But let's take a look here at Motive, and Jamerson and Zephyr were talking about that may have been a huge game for Motive. They may have had 24, 27 points. How about 32? They finished with 20 kills on the game. Crow leading the way with 10 kills and 5 assists. Everybody contributing big in the damage department. Everybody up over that 1,500 damage mark. Crow topping the charts with 2,600. That was a hell of a showing there from Motive. And let's take a look right now at our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 1. That's going to be a nice spot for Motive at the top of our Mobile One leaderboard. And this is at the end game. They go for the aggressive push onto Excedrin. And it is a perfectly timed ultimate, though, from Enemy that sets up this fight, and Enemy wants to go for the push here. A couple of knocks already, looking for the final kill here onto Crow, but Crow takes care of business, does not miss in the end. But this was very close, and this is honestly well played by Motive. It's just Enemy almost outplays them with the perfectly timed black hole to capture 2. Doesn't miss with the flat line in the car. There's his second knock and just almost gets a third, but that red Evo doing some work there for Crow, able to survive and take Enemy down, but Excedrin was a hair's breadth away from grabbing a win here in game number 1, so definitely keep an eye on them as well as Enemy as the day continues. We're going to go to a quick break right now. When we come back, plenty more Series E Apex action. Don't go far.
up, they wanna package this. Pray for peace, pacifist, I'm never old enough to give a promise.
When the chicken is this crispy and this tasty, it doesn't matter what else is for dinner. Tyson crispy strips are so delicious, they'll be your favorite part of every meal. More crispy chicken, more family faves, more to love. Tyson.
Welcome back to Series E. Just before the break, we had Motive taking game number 1 in a monstrous game. 32 points overall, which will clearly, of course, put them first after game number 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Mobile 1 leaderboard to see where everyone else shapes up. And like I said, Excedrin only ended up getting about 4 kill points early on and really weren't able to leverage their position because so many fights were just taking place on the edges there. And so for a team to move early into zone, they only picked up those early 3 kill points and then 1 more kill point throughout the rest of the game in game number 1.
I guess I was understating the performance of Motive. I talked about how they were aggressive, but I had no idea they were just all over the place in that game 1 here. And I think this is going to lead me to a point that has existed for quite some time now, but it's what we're seeing in this game 1, especially when you look at the entire leaderboard and notice how when you get down to 9th and below, we're talking low scoring games. Most of our points have been retained towards the upper end here, and this is something that I don't feel like a lot of people typically talk about, but it's the fact that there is this bubble when it comes to what points are available when you go into every single game of Apex. It exists somewhere between 110 and 115 here. The compositions that are starting to evolve going into this kind of new year as we approach it are far more aggressive, and they enable rosters like Motive to pick up even more KP. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, as you can see, it takes it away from everyone else here. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it's a very simple concept to understand, but if they continue to do so, I mean, they choke out the rest of competition. They build this gap that will easily net them whatever they want. Tonight, it's a first-place victory, but who knows regarding the future of any roster.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, just the gap between first and second place alone, 19-point lead early on. And honestly, all Motive need to do throughout the rest of the night is just make sure they get about 5 to 10 points per game, and they should be cruising with a lead like that. It'll take something like back-to-back victories or double victories from some of our squads to try and overtake a lead like that. So this is a huge monstrous start for Motive. The best thing they can do is just make sure they do not die off of drop for the next 5 games. And now, with 2 games left onto World's Edge, how are teams going to adjust? This was a very, hyper-accelerated pace usually means around 14 teams still alive after round number 1, but we were already down to about 12. At the end of round number 2, we were down to about 9, 8 teams. And so this is an absolutely unheard of pace. This is almost like ranked more than anything else. I mean, you could even say almost pubs.
Well, hold on. We got to be careful here, but I mean, you're not wrong. At the end of the day, it's definitely way more aggressive than should be iterated within a scrim like this. And at the end of the day, now that teams have maybe gotten the information with who's where and who's more capable, you'll definitely see maybe a slowing as we approach game 2 here. But as you can say, we're joining on with Motive once again, and they'll definitely be feeling fairly good here as that zone's pulling directly towards the south of them. I will say that doesn't really kind of adhere to what we saw out of them, given how quickly they were on the rotation to find their way out of zone towards the edges. And even as we look at them right now, leaving Countdown going towards Skyhook for potentially another fight.
Yeah, what they're going to want to do is definitely just swing up to the northern side, allow the teams to come in from the eastern edge. That's where probably the high majority of teams will be rotating in for this circle. That's pulling down towards the staging side. They'll have plenty of time to work on the edges. You can see they are making their way into trials right now. It does seem like Valk is a little bit split up in that usual take. We don't have as much of the early fighting as we had in game number 1, so maybe this is signs of things slowing down a little bit. But down here at Dome, it looks like good vibe guys trying to push in. They already have the man advantage. It's going to be the Watts in the front line. There we go, getting a knock onto Astrid, and that's Firehouse. The first team knocked out. So good vibe guys getting first blood in game number 2.
I'll tell you, a double dome drop, that's not something that you see typically happen here, but it's our first 50-50 of the game. One to continue forward here. It looks like Intel, once again, outside of Climatizer defending position, already found the first knock. Now James Spears with that PK. Got some damage from behind, but they make short work of it as a full 3-man Banana Hammocks. This is their second time they've fallen here off of their early drop.
One thing to note, I believe that there was Lava Siphon or Lava Fissure actually available as a drop. Now, I don't know if you want to drop that close over towards Motive, start a fight in a fight over at Geyser right now. Triple Z has been eliminated. Excedrin trying to make a quick push out from that launch side. Now going down towards Dome, getting your free XP. So the third party, it was a little bit delayed, but it looks like Excedrin should be able to clean this one up. Cruisin will go ahead and clean that one up for Team Excedrin. We're now down to 16. Lane getting in a fight up at Skyhook now. This might be Motive's opportunity to come in for a third party up against Valk.
Yeah, Valk here has made the rotation away from Trials and are beginning this fight. They already find that first drop, so they're going to look to follow suit, collapse into this building, and as you've said, it's the perfect opportunity for Motive to come in, pick up that KP, but first, it's this fight right here. Valk from below, Gorilla Grip with the PK. Unable to find quite the crack necessary, but does at least open up their ability to pull towards that second floor. Singularity might pull them back, but Kova Squad still falls as a result.
Yeah, I would like to see them throw down that Seer ultimate basically as quickly as that fight ended, but looks like without really trading anyone away, they don't have to worry about taking too long to reset themselves. Razer, though, will go ahead and poke down over here towards the engineering bay to maybe pick up the beacon scan for themselves in just a moment. Nades can easily do that, of course, with the drone in just a second, and he will be able to pick up that info. So Razer know that they have to go down towards that staging side. It's 15 squads now as zone number 1 begins closing.
Right. We haven't really discussed it yet, but it's where you might want to be when we talk about zones like this. Obviously, staging is your best bet, but I tend to like, obviously, that high ground area that kind of pulls towards the train line itself and the no-name village. So, hope to see the squads over there. For Excedrin, it looks like there is another squad here in Dome. I believe that has been 4 squads. Quite literally 20% of your lobby fighting out in this early POI. You never see anybody in. Enemy, the door is cracked. Gravity lift for the defense. They're pulling back towards his other teammates.
Yeah, he was just trying to deny the door, make sure they can't actually get out of there, or maybe throw down an arc star onto him. That gravity lift is extremely strong for trying to control the doorways. Seer ultimate getting clear here. Valk getting pushed, and this has to be Motive on the other side. You can see this here. Going for battle across that window as Valk is backing away. All their shields are cracked, and now Shiny gets challenged by Crows, and it seems like Motive trading away for 1. The melee's coming in, but they get the second knock. Now there's only 1 player remaining here. Motive in the 2v1. It's down to 1v1, but Crows should be able to clean this one up. Valk cleaned up, and now Motive going for the reset here. I don't believe there's any more teams coming in for the third party as we join on board with Start a Fight right now. Fighting out of Geyser, surprisingly enough. Rakinishu inside of the tunnel. There's a team inside of Geyser now as Rakinishu has to swap off onto a white, and that actually does prove valuable, buying him just enough HP to back away. His Seer ultimate keeping eyes on that squad for now as Excedrin do make this push. And Excedrin, they didn't get into too many fights last game. They are making up for lost time here in game number 2. As Kimchi Lee just needs to reset here, but they are current lobby leaders in terms of kills. Start a fight, continuing this fight so far. Their Seer ultimate is gone, but they've gotten the knock onto Monty. Gosu pushing out. Stanky goes down. Aves will be able to clean this one up, and now Start a Fight will knock out Guppies. We are down to 12 squads.
And I guess my interpretation of game 2 was very, very wrong. Round 1 closing. We're back down to 12 teams remaining. It might be even less here as Tyson are in the midst of their fight. You can see Fearless, the Intel squad, has made their way out of Climatizer, and they're already finding the wipe here onto the Tyson roster. There's the further collapse. They need to cross this open gap, but I think they're more than capable to come in.
Yeah, with all the fighting to the north, we have so much clear ground here on the north side of the zone. Black hole being used. The singularity is there. Z Davis gets knocked. Fearless, though, does have to be careful, as he does drop fairly low. They don't have a Gibraltar bubble for an easy reset. As Team Goodnight coming in. Mad Maggie for put in is already making me a fan out of this squad. We'll see, though, if they can fight up against Team Intel there. Razer ends up getting the knock, so it's a 3-team affair so far. Razer coming in for the right-hand side. Blake finishing them off. That's going to be Team Intel knocked out. Now the EMP comes in, getting ready for that third party, but it looks like Razer are just going to take this opportunity, just reset for themselves. They pick up the KP, and they have positioning here on the train tracks, keep gatekeeping as Team Nerf find themselves in a fight inside of Harvester. Currently, they are backing away. Force is going to be picking up the fuse for this squad.
Hey, I'm more than happy to see the fuse. This is what I talked about at the very beginning of the game. It was this kind of zoning level of pressure. You get the information with something like that Seer, and then you retain your position. Knuckle cluster down. Ordnance is found here, as Force will be trying to take advantage of that. Not even just here is Nerf taking a fight, though, by the way. You can see start a fight already in more action here as they make their way into Lava Siphon. They've already found a first knock, a second to follow on to Mr. Freezy there. One more will do it in, but I think they're just going to go for the quick finish up, thirst out these kills. You can see Rack hunting.
Yeah, this is just ring number 1, so they're not taking too much damage out there. Nerdy Esports knocked out. 9 squads remaining, so very similar pace to what we had in game number 1. Which means there should be a lot of downtime after this, but as I say that, Sun is getting a knock onto nades. It was with a charge rifle. Don't know if they're in position to try and punch them. It looks like they are getting sandwiched. The quick res was there, but that's going to be the re-knock onto nades. Now they're getting punished by that other squad that was running the fuse, I believe. At this point, Vizio trying to back away from this one. And as they do so, they get another knock onto Blake. So Razer now just down to 1. But Vizio have to be worried about that third party. Sung gets taken out by Night Knight. Now, will they be able to get the res? It doesn't seem like they're going to have that opportunity as the nades are coming in from Team Goodnight. They do have the Mad Maggie ultimate to push in with it as well. Two-Face taking a lot of damage, but it looks like Night Knight with that Mastiff gets that knock onto Borden. Vizio now down to just 1 remaining, but Night Knight needs to take some time to try and heal up Woodson. There we go, goes for the peak. At least answers in that regard, but Crows is here. Here is Team Motive now coming in for the third party for the cleanup.
8 squads remaining. It'll be 7 soon. We know Motive likes to play with food here. Take it to the high end. Gravity lift going to carry them down towards this low ground. Gotta be careful. You've got some contenders watching all the angles here, but Crozo, I don't think he's worried about that. Team Goodnight eliminated here. Jeez.
Yeah, Motive. Said really with a huge 32-point game, first game of the evening, as long as they keep up 5 to 10 points per set. But here they're top 7. They picked up at least 3 kill points, so they are keeping pace. But if they can get a second victory this early on as well, that just might spell it for them for the rest of the evening. And that might just be the clincher on the 350 for the evening. Motive looking for their next fight now.
We know this building right here is usually a hot topic for teams looking to set up for staging finishes. Well, Motive, they're more than happy to take it away, but I think they just care about the KP. Crozo there, the 301, quite a burn, not quite the drop, but Tua in combo will make sure they eliminate Protectful from the other end here with the R99. Oxygen will be shredded through as they eliminate this one. Mike and Ike, though, have heard the shots. They're going to come up from the other end. They've got a Mastiff themselves, and that drop out of Crozo might be spelling the end here for Team Motive. Through the doorway, another is found. Only one more will do it as they swing the corner there. Mike and Ike take one more out, bringing us to 5 squads, Jamerson.
Yeah, 5 squads remaining here, round number 2, with just another 30 seconds to close up. We'll see if we actually get a game ending before round number 4, round number 5. There is a possibility. I have not seen that outside of pubs in a really long time. Here's Team Nerf. Not too much action for them. Razer were able to actually reset themselves, get everyone back on up. Messiah getting knocked there as Razer, they should have an isolated fight to try and push up and punish this one, as they are having difficulties getting through that knockdown shield, but eventually they will be able to pick that one up onto Messiah, finishing him off. Mike and Ike also getting flanked from behind over at the thermal station side. Mike and Ike's got to turn around on this in just a moment. They do have a decent crossfire set up to try and control this choke, but it looks like they're giving up some ground here as the nades are coming in, connecting onto base. He's going to go ahead and swap out with MJ here, who uses that grab lift to take the height. Mar taking a lot of damage now. The Seer Q's coming in. The micro drones are being used. Mar's going to be the first one to fall. That's going to be Nades picking that one up. Start a fight helping out as well. And now Mike and Ike on the verge of getting knocked out here in 5th. MJ the only one up for his squad. I don't think there's going to be any opportunity for him to get them back in.
No, not at all here. Razer hearing some of those shots do extend themselves just a little bit. You can see Boxa T up on that high ground there, even though it was a bit of the snipe from afar with the charge rifle that was in the midst of that fight there. Start a fight. They know there's only one last standing member of this squad. I don't think they push any further. You can see most of them still kind of pulled back here towards the western end of this line. But even still, as I say that, Stola fully wiped. Mara as well. Numbers falling here across the board. Not many full team rosters even left alive among our 5 squads remaining.
Yeah, I mean, it's only MJ, I believe, that's riding this one out, and the rest of the 4 squads should be up as a full. Razer, one of them. You see another squad out there over by that respawn beacon. Great shots out there from Blake Yu. Just solo forcing out that bubble. Another peek out. I don't know if you really want to try and challenge that one. Hit for flash once more, but that Gibraltar does make it inside. Razer holding out on the interior building of staging here. They'll be able to continually pick up these scans for free. They are running that crypto, so it's basically a risk-free scan for them every single time. Again, though, we're just wondering if, at this point in the game, if Mike and Ike, if MJ can get his squad mates back in. This is just round number 3. There are still plenty of respawn beacons available.
Yeah, you could pull out extremely far and get that revive back up here. For teams like Razer, though, they don't have to worry about any of the such. They continue to put pressure down. We tune in with Nerf, though, who the last time we checked in with them, I believe they were suffering at the cost of a drop or in a bit of a tussle themselves. Looks like they're all the full force here. 3 members ready to go. The furthest away from the setup of the zone, just coming through the choke outside of Harvester. They don't know that there's a squad directly in front of them towards that beacon, but with Messiah on this here, they're more than happy to quickly find that one out.
Yeah, it's Excedrin that's actually playing off this respawn beacon. Here was Kimchi Lee, who got stopped in his tracks. It does seem like there's going to be a small fight over this world drop here. Lee's arm shield did get cracked there, so we can't go for a peek quite yet. That port just a little bit shy of that world drop. Cruisin's on top as well, and so there's very few objectives to really play off of. The world drop is going to be one of the few ones. It does seem like maybe not the best of loot there. They'll be able to retake height in just a moment with that gravity lift. Wondering if they are maybe able to pick up a Kraber or a Massive for the fights. It looks like Team Nerf also trying to focus down Excedrin. They're getting shot up from Razer. The other side, Messiah getting tagged by that charge rifle. Every team just focusing on Excedrin right now. And it's going to be the mother load coming in from Forcy to get the knock onto enemy. You can see everyone is just full focusing on Excedrin right now.
There's not much KP left in the lobby. You might as well full send it here. Pinched among 3 squads. Now, I'm surprised no more have fallen. You can see Start a Fight taking a little bit of the attention away there as Nerf lays in the shots available. But for now, it looks like they're going to just take their time, pull away. They have the opportunity for a Valk redeploy or a different rotation if they need to be. Yeah, there we go. Hold that one up. Take yourself further towards that eastern end that you now officially know is completely open, right?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, despite all the snipers that were in play for Team Razer, they didn't really have a line of sight to deal with Nerf taking to the skies. And while all that happens, Excedrin does end up getting knocked out by Start a Fight. Nerf, though, will be playing on the western edges of staging here. They've got one of the highest angles to really play off of. No one really able to contest them unless Start a Fight ends up pulling in from the south side here to try and contest for that. Nerf are cognizant of it, and so they will go ahead and start pulling away forces to keep an eye here. As you can see, Start a Fight are starting to round out towards that south end. Nerf need to really focus them down, especially here in the late game where it's 3 full squads and MJ still alive for Team Mike and Knight.
Yeah, I will say it was a very good read, though, by Nerf kind of being as far out as they were towards the east on Harvester. They saw the rotation from Start a Fight, baited out by the weakness of Excedrin, and they very quickly, instead of trying to elicit more KP, said, let's go for the rotation. Now, what I find very interesting is Start a Fight have dropped. They have no interest in dealing with the current pressure of Nerf, say they don't have the defense on board, and actually find their way to below.
Yeah, this is such an awkward state for Nerf to be in. As you can see, most other squads are already rocking the red Evo shields, but just the amount of fights that Nerf were not a part of throughout all of this means that 2 of them are still sitting on purple. You can see 360 damage here for turn, so there is an HP discrepancy, especially if they end up taking a fight up against Start a Fight, who is the closest team to them, to their south. So it does seem like this little platform edge will be available for them to play off of, and so we could still have some downtime here, but we'll see if maybe Razer can try and force the issue, force a knock onto one of them, and make them feel like they need to take the initiative. But Start a Fight are just going to go ahead and turtle up inside of the train cart underneath. They are, of course, rocking that Watts, and so they need to get that interception pylon down to start setting up the fences.
Now, the big thing notably here for Nerf that usually you have to your advantage sometimes when you have this zone pull sword staging is that crane out there towards the western side is a level of high ground that you're still allowed to play. They don't have that. I mean, there is the slight bridge out there, but you're going to be running directly into Razer. So this next rotation, this kind of issue we've brought up among this roster is a huge question as this circle continues to tighten through.
Luckily for them, there are less angles to really worry about, so if they end up pushing down to the low ground, but it doesn't seem like they'll have to at all, they won't have to put themselves in a really bad position if they end up on the low. They do have this platform to play off of, but Nerf are just maintaining that high ground advantage. Blake went for a nice cheeky peek there, at least trading away some damage. He's 150 off from the red Evo shield himself, along with Nades, who needs to get himself the Evo shield. But now, going into this final fight, when you have 3 teams remaining along with 1 rat, that EMP can prove invaluable for them. So it's going to come down to the patience of Nades to hold on to that EMP to get a really good wombo with that defensive bombardment.
It's going to be a while, too. At this current point, there's no pressure that pushes Nerf completely down, and Razer are more than happy to set themselves up here on this kind of circular tiered cake, we'll say platform of the crane that currently exists for the time being. I am curious to see what might come out of MJ here. There's always the opportunity to play as a bit of a spoiler in enlisting what might be the falling of one of these other squads. But as I say that, right there, the kill feed, Mike and Ike are officially eliminated, so not going to be an option.
Yeah, not entirely too sure what took him out, but
no idea.
At least now the teams know that it is going to be full 3-man squads here in the 3v3v3. Like you said, we have plenty of time here. Zone 6 will be closing in about 30 seconds. Nerf is going to be the first team forced out of that high ground position. Start a Fight is underneath them for now. It's all about Razer buying time until that fight breaks out. But you can see Start a Fight starting to move out to actually position themselves away from the Nerf drop down.
I like this from Start a Fight. They know they have the spacing underneath. It's not the best angle in terms of kind of being able to defend. I want to see Nerf rotate towards the bridge there. If they have the option to go for the collapse, take this stairwell down, maybe throw a mother load that pressures Razer back, that might be their best opportunity. But sometimes the low ground is all you'll have to work with. Oh, they're going to go.
It's going to be the final ring closing now, and they will go ahead and avoid dropping down into Start a Fight, avoiding that fight for as long as possible. We got 1 minute 55 seconds here. Blake Yu taking a lot of damage from that angle. We've got the Knuckle Cluster coming in to try and challenge, as Blake is just trying his best to heal up around the corner. For Start a Fight, though, they are just waiting this one out. Again, when you're down to that 3-team affair, it's all about coming in for the third party here. You can see no one wants to make a mistake. Everyone is taking the opportunity to heal up, and that's going to be the first bubble down for Blake Yu. Boxa T is on the front lines by himself. himself. Defensive bombardment has gone down. The knuckle cluster does connect. Blake Yu, though, is getting tagged up by that knuckle cluster. He gets that battery off. Razer and Nerf fighting it out here. Start a fight, just waiting on the edges, waiting on that low ground. They should have access to be able to challenge them, and Forsey is going to be the first one to go down. But now, this might be an opportunity for them to actually get that res up as the focus is turned on to start a fight here. Their interception pylon is cleared, so we'll see if start a fight maybe have an ultimate excel to get them back up. But in just a moment, Razer are going to be forced to drop down. Start a fight gets the knock onto Messiah here. Nerf just down to turns as he tries to take to the sky, but he will go down. It's going to be Razer versus start a fight as Nades hits that EMP onto start a fight, and here comes the drop down now as start a fight are just scrambling below. The bubble has been used. They don't have a Gibraltar of their own. They're inside of the bubble. They've already lost out on Blake Q as Razer continue to fight in, but it's going to be start a fight. A little bit slower start for them, but they will take game number 2.
Start a fight, even though they're on the low ground, forced to drop as early as they were. Just allow that fight to continue to exist there between Razer, of course, and Nerf. And after everything had been expended between the two squads, they roll that one forward, even as you brought up, in the face of what is usually your best defensive entity, that Gibraltar Dome coming down, something they didn't have the opportunity to work with themselves.
Yeah, it just came down to late game basics, late game fundamentals. When it comes down to 3 squads, the first 2 teams that end up fighting end up losing their start of fight. Understand that this is a seasoned squad. This is a squad that we've seen in Series E time and again. So they understand that. And so they just wait it out. They are so patient with that Watson playing off that low ground. But of course, it does come down to the game state here, right? You're typically not left with 3 teams here in zone number 6. So they knew how to move around. They avoided initially that Nerf drop down. They put themselves right underneath Razer. They forced Nerf into Razer. So it was just great calling coming out from start of fight to basically dictate how that late game finished.
And you saw, we talked for quite a long time about those 3 squads, but it doesn't pull away from that. The fact that this game was even more absurd than game 1 here for World's Edge. We saw an extra 2 or 3 squads falling on that first zone close here, and most entities kind of picking up what was maybe 3 to 9 KP just across the board as a result of fights kind of on their own lonesome taking place everywhere.
Yeah, Motive got to that early start, like we said, seeing that zone pull towards them early on, coming out from command, and they end up pulling, rotating up north towards that third party up against Valk, I believe. We called it early on, extremely, and they ended up getting caught up in this scramble down here. When that rotation to the south came out, we saw Intel getting in this fight up against Tyson, but so many teams ended up showing up for this one. Vizio, Razer, I believe Goodnight was there as well. So a lot of teams ended up showing up on the north side of this map.
Yeah, and as a result, you saw we kind of collapsed down to what was maybe 5 or 6 squads remaining past that zone 4 and further, and very quickly did they collapse as well, as all those fights tended to tussle out right there on the edge of staging, and then it was just a choke of an end, kind of a paced one at that for the last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and send it on over to Yeso to break down game number 2. When we get back, we'll have our final game on World's Edge right after this.
Nice W there from start a fight in game number 2. They take out Team Razer in that final circle, win a nice bubble fight, and they did a good job playing patient. Of course, we got a really good look multiple times at Nerf and Razer set up on the high ground, poking away at each other. We got a good look at the Fuse for the side of Nerf, using all the utility he had to try and whittle away at the health bars of Razer. It wasn't enough to get Nerf, I should say, into the top 2, and in a position where it looked like Razer may have the advantage coming down from the high ground. Pretty healthy, some red evos there. SAF just didn't miss their shots, and they grabbed the win. Let's take a look at our champion squad here for game number 2, as one of the best games we've seen from start a fight as of late. They pick up 17 kills for themselves. Aves and Rack each hitting 6 themselves, and Matt Pickett with 5 to his name. So really good team performance here all across the board. Rack leading the way with 2,100 damage on the game. And start a fight, I mean, you watch any tournament going on. If it is open entry, start a fight is there. Aves Rack and Matt Pickett, they are grinding right now. They are trying to get as much experience as possible, and I think it is really showing because Start a Fight continues to grow. They continue to improve, and I'm really looking forward to, hopefully, of course, we're going to get information about what's coming in year 3 for the ALGS Pro League. What can Start a Fight do then? I can't imagine they're getting an invite, but if we get open qualifiers, which we should to fill up Pro League, this is a team I'm definitely going to have my eye on, and I'm looking forward to that. Let's take a look at our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 2, and it's a look at Motive here, as well as Mike and Ike. Of course, Motive grabbed the win in game 1, and they're looking to peek into this building. Can't push too aggressively with those Watson fences. They'll take it out, but Mike and Ike with the third party here, and it's MJ with that ultimate available, as well as the Mastiff, and they're just free firing here through the door. That Mastiff is so damn good, and it's just a quick cleanup, and MJ doesn't even have to use the black hole. It's honestly just really cleanly played here. They understand that they're coming in onto Motive, who aren't as healthy as they would prefer. You could even see Crow right there on your screen at about 40 health. And so this is just Mike and Ike with a nice, clean pickup, 3 easy KP, and just taking care of business. And that means that Motive not able to go back to back after their win in game 1. So we'll have to see what that fight means for our Mobile One leaderboard. Now, right now we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we've got our final game on World's Edge, so don't go far. We've got plenty more Series E in just a few.
All right, welcome back to Series E. Not to be outdone by Motives. Team Start a Fight end up walking away with a victory in game number 2. So let's see where they end up on the Mobile One leaderboard. They had about 9 points heading into game number 2. So that allows them to catch up to Team Motive. We ended up picking about 10 points in that last game. And now that lead has been cut down to 4. So Start a Fight really bringing themselves up to second place. Razer, though, trailing behind by 10 points, can easily make that up along with Excedrin. They're in 4th place with 23.
Right, and still, that topic that I brought up before we got into game 2, the heavy end of this lobby, we're looking at even past a full 2 to 3 games to usurp the positions that are beginning to exist within our top 2, where we know that prizing is going to be decided here. And for a lot of these squads still sitting down off the cusp of below 4 points, identical to what we saw out of game 1, nothing to have been accrued.
Yeah, we've got 3 squads currently, Kova, Banana Hammocks, and Firehouse, that currently do not have any points, but it's still early on. We have 4 games left to go, and the pace of this match has been extremely fast. So I feel like for a lot of these squads, if they want to be able to survive the early phase, they're going to have to swap off onto compositions that really play more towards early team fighting. I'm expecting to see maybe some Bloodhounds coming out, maybe some more Seer pickups from a lot of our squads as well, just to have that extra intel when it comes to these fights, because right now, nothing is slowing down a lot of our teams that are looking for these early fights.
No, not at all. And just to kind of summarize what currently exists, obviously a lot of our partnered squads right there just below both Motive and Start a Fight. Obviously, we are still looking for a little bit more of a come up out of Vizio and Tyson, who've kind of been on the rougher end of what has existed tonight. I'm surprised to see Tyson sitting in second, given that I don't know, I thought they lasted a little bit longer in that game one, but the points don't lie.
Yeah, they haven't been able to pick up a kill point yet, I believe. I think that's just off of placements alone. But here we go. Heading into our final game of World's Edge before we hit the half. Let's go ahead and join on board with Start a Fight. Who'll be dropping over on that Geyser side. They are no strangers to having a rotation path that puts them into fights early on like we had in game number 2. This time around, Matt Pickett is going to pick up the Mirage Special for us for game number 3.
Okay, so this has been a topic that has been within discussion for the last few days, especially with Seer becoming something more in the meta right now. And a lot of people are quick to say that Mirage is that counter, especially when we look at things like the ultimate, the clones that do exist. But the clones don't have a heartbeat currently, right? And so even though Mirage seems like it would be a fantastic choice into a matchup like this, you still are enabled and only see the actual original Mirage. Now, it has been rumored that this isn't supposed to happen, and it is a bug which might be getting fixed in the potential future here.
Yeah, so it's a little strange, but I feel like they're maybe having a little bit more fun tonight, especially with the way the pace of the game has been taking place right now. Though we're taking a
Shut up. Come on. No,
yeah, right now we're taking a look at our first ring pulls of the evening, and we have been treated to basically a world tour of World's Edge. It's going up towards the northeast side of the map, and Team Intel are going to be happy about this one. They take their 50-50 once again up against Guppies, I believe. Impulse swapping off onto a white, so Intel already getting that early armor advantage, but they're not able to trade away the damage quite yet. It's still double purples for them, though. They've got Arc Stars forcing them into the corner. Bubble has been used. All 3 players are right here inside of this corner. Mooney is going to go for that peek in just a moment. Fearless is inside there as he gets challenged by 2 of them, and Team Intel might actually go down here. The trades are not going in their favor. They haven't knocked out anyone yet, and now they're getting chased down. Fearless has been able to hit this bat, but it looks like that squad will not chase after Intel quite yet. Luckily for Team Intel, though, they have plenty of bats somehow during these early fights, so they are maintaining these purple armors for themselves and actually getting the opportunity to go for the full reset. Fearless hitting that bat, hitting the medkit. He's going to swap off and now challenge in just a moment as soon as Impulse and Mooney heal up.
I don't understand what happens there. I don't think Intel found as much damage as we had kind of quote-unquote expected seeing the end of that fight there. As I mean, Banana Hammocks don't look any better in terms of their setup from what they early looted out here, but Intel was low there off the back end of that early trade here, and now they can just get the perfect opportunity to reset, take advantage of their extra resources, find that first knock, make it 2, and take Banana Hammocks out once again at the very start of this match here.
You can see Mooney just keeping an eye, using that ADS to see if anyone comes in for the third party, but they are going to be safe. They're here pretty isolated on the northeast side. I don't know if anyone dropped over at Survey Camp really to try and come in for the third party attempt. Vizio, though, now down by launch, actually patrolling around. Maybe they're trying to chase after Excedrin, who might be making their way on over towards that Dome site. We had a lot of fighting that took place over at Dome. One player caught out, going for the crafting, start a fight, trading 1 for 1. Monty Gosu goes down there. Matt Pickett, though, on that Mirage did not last long in that fight. Rakanishu needs some time to heal up. It looks like they might have been able to hit a Q to try and deny a res as they're going to go ahead and push forward. It looks like possibly another Mirage actually in play on the other side of this one. Aves challenging at the door, but he's got to be careful here as they are getting challenged now from that choke. It looks like a third-party attempt coming out, and so Aves is going to go ahead and back away. Rakanishu is going to have to go in, pick up that banner, and get out for his squad mates. Startifight should be able to get the res, as it looks like Vizio ends up getting into that fight, losing out on 2 up against Excedrin.
And now it's up to Blitz to look for some sort of escape as Mike and Ite are officially eliminated. But Excedrin not too far behind, continuing to follow suit. Now, granted, they don't have anything like the heartbeat sensor, but I don't think it quite matters when you've got momentum like this.
Speaking of momentum, Intel finding their next fight, going over towards going over towards survey camp. You do have a team hold up inside of this building. Impulse getting tagged from outside as well. So Intel thought this might have been an isolated fight for them. Unfortunately, the third party was already there. They were getting challenged by a charge rifle from the southern side here. So Intel have to slow things down. They might try and go for a second pass at this fight if they can try and maybe dissuade the other squad that basically put an end to this fight for the time being. But Team Intel, they want to continue to try and build off the momentum. They've got the purples. They want to go ahead and continue to try and utilize their advantages here in the early fights, but it looks like they're not going to have this opportunity to start a fight, end up cleaning up good vibe guys. We're now already down to 12 teams, just like we had in game number 1.
There might be more here in just a moment. You can see most of these squads that have been sitting outside of survey camp all just a click away there. Kova's squad unable to successfully get that singularity off.
Yeah, gets instantly cleared their creature. Challenges and loses out to a 30-30, already down to a 2v3. And they're not looking good in terms of armor as well. Triple Z, they've got the purple, they've got the blue. That is why they've got the Watson inside. They've got the interception pylon up as well. But Triple Z are shaking in their boots. They're not taking this time to actually push out. Borgia is out there by himself currently on that Bangalore, but for the time being, they're just allowing possibly for a free reset.
Well, I mean, on the other end here, you have that squad. Kova completely eliminated. It's Intel, and now they know that there's this squad inside, and they're going to take advantage of that, but maybe retaining position has net them something well here. Already down 2 members of Intel, as healthy as they were. It's left up to Mooney to finish the job here.
Yeah, they're going to have the armor resets, though, but Mooney does have that Seer ultimate, so he's got all the information to play off of. If he wants to try and deny a res with the Q, he can, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and focus on getting that res. Here's Team Good Night, though, the team that's been rocking that Mad Maggie, throwing in that ultimate. Doesn't seem like it gets that much value, but they already have that man advantage. Now the Q goes out to try and deny, again, a res. But it seems like they should be able to just follow up. This is round 1 closing, so they can indefinitely tank this one, secure that thirst, at the very least onto Trev for now, as Team Goodnight looking for the rest of the squad.
Oh, as we approach Intel back here on survey camp, all 3 members they have to deal with, but it looks like their reset provided useful there. Mooney and Impulse putting out the majority of the damage, taking us down to 12, and now going to go for that quick revive, get James Fearless back in the game here.
10 squads remaining here. 28 players left, though, so that means 2 squads currently. Not just Team Intel losing out on 1 player. I'm wondering if that was Vizio maybe backing away, only getting the res onto 1. We'll check in with them in just a moment. Excedrin, though, stuck inside of Geyser currently, but are moving from building to building. They should be able to work their way over towards that lava siphon side, but the micro drones come in for that Seer, putting a stop to this push out quite quickly, but they should have that opportunity to get out. Ooh, Bear Burst nade narrowly missing onto Lee, but he will be able to take height now. Challenge up against the Seer on the other side. Flatline not quite connecting for him, but he is closing the distance. He's got the arm shield advantage as well, and now he's taking an off angle on the right-hand side while enemy and cruising maintain that high ground control, going from rooftop to rooftop as Excedrin are looking for this fight, looking to finish off this team.
That was a good break found as well. Seer to follow here. They know they have the advantage in terms of the pressure. They've kind of flipped this one on its head as they've found these angles here on the outside of Geyser. And yes, this is Start a Fight who started this one off here. Now, they're following quite ideally the same path. You do have Matt Pickett, though, on that high ground who is available to lay the damage down and provide some cover what might need be. There he is.
Yeah, we do have that Syracuse coming in, but Matt Pickett will go down once again. And now they're down to that 2v3. Excedrin will take the opportunity to just go ahead and reset with this bubble, clear out that Seer ultimate in just a moment, and go for that full push. Motive has been eliminated throughout all this. That's going to be Team Goodnight picking that one up. So Motive started off really strong, but now they have been delayed quite a bit. Cruisin ends up going down to Rakanishu. Lee gets cracked here, and he will fall. It's going to be enemy once again. This time around, though, in 1v2, he gets the knock, he trades. Now it's down to the 1v1. Rakanishu swaps off onto that purple Evo shield. And now with the PK out, he is down to basically just one shot. One more swap off on the armor, but the Bocek bow is enough for enemy there, as Excedrin will clean that up. He's going to be able to pick up those banners and get them plugged right in over here at Kaiser.
And right there, your 10th and 9th squads eliminated are both Motive and Start a Fight, our current leaders here on our Mobile 1 leaderboard. So now it's anybody's game to potentially catch up and close that gap that had formed early here onto World's Edge. But still, second zone just about to close. 8 squads remaining, potentially 7 now as Intel still making waves here out here towards North Climatizer. Double breakdown of Gravity Lift as well. Feelers to follow suit with the PK-45 for the knock, but from behind, shot from Z Davis. It's Tyson for the third party.
Yeah, Tyson now. They're coming in for the third party. They were on the receiving end of some terrible third parties in game number 2. Learned their lesson and find their timing there. Impulse has gone down to Joey Blackout, but they've got to be careful themselves. They're getting shot up from multiple angles. Joey Blackout with that bubble will go ahead and finish off Team Intel. They'll have the opportunity to reset inside of this building. It's going to be a matter of time before maybe another team ends up pushing them over this Climatizer side, but Kaizen have done enough. They cleared out this northern angle. We're now down to 6 squads. Nerf inside of Climatizer chasing after one. That's going to be Lane. Excuse me, Saw's going down. I believe Lane has already fallen as well. There it is. The thirst on to him. And so now Valk just down to 1 player remaining. 4C stands still for just a little bit too long. Ends up getting cracked there. Swap off onto that gold armor. Will allow him to heal up with just 1 syringe. Gold helm as well, so he'll be able to consistently toss down knuckle clusters if they want to try and make this push onto Tyson.
And they're right up against the back end there. You can see Turns and Crew maybe beginning to form some of those angles that will provide an advantage if they look to take this fight at any given moment here. Granted, I'm still curious to see where some of these other squads position themselves. It seems like a lot of the action that we have seen here has been mostly centralized towards the northern end here of World's Edge. Obviously, you do have entities like Start a Fight just kind of coming out of Geyser who will be here soon enough.
Or Nerf, though,
or
their
not
biggest deal is their biggest contest is going to be Tyson right now, as they do try and back away, avoid this fight for as long as possible. This is the best game that they've had so far. We were talking about it. Only placement points throughout the first 2 games, only getting 2 points overall. And so getting these early kill points, getting these placement points at the end of the game is going to be so much more important for them. So they are completely avoiding any other fights here, backing off of this when they know that there are some damaged teams across the board as well. They can see it, 6 squads, 16 players remaining. So 2 players currently missing out of this lobby. So they're just going to back away to the main building of Climatizer here. So really great call to avoid any mid-game fights, as it is still just game number 3, or excuse me, round number 3.
Round 3, quite a bit of space to play out here, and for Tyson, it allows them to find that heavy rotation that they do. And obviously, to clarify just a second ago, it's not Start Fight, it's Excedrin coming out of that Geyser area, and they've got some time here. It looks like they've spotted something out here towards the western end of Fragment. A quick replenish of some of those syringes and cells, make some trades, even out the squad as a whole before they might be going for this push. You can see it right there in the feed, just in the middle of that building. Might be able to take advantage of.
Excedrin. Looks like they want to try and isolate the 1 player out to the north instead of the player inside that building, but for the time being, it's they're just actually cutting them off. We're going to go ahead and close the distance, pushing into Fragment East for now, as they have kind of lost track. There we go, spotting out 1. That's going to be gold armor onto him. Getting that crack, 81, but they get tagged up from above. They do get the knock onto Two-Face there, though, but I don't know if they're going to be able to punish that. That high ground angle is being held on that epicenter side. For Team Nerf, though, they are holding down the big bridge. Excedrin making the push out. They've got that gravity lift. They have taken height from this squad. Getting challenged here on the right. Never mind. They're on full retreat. Enemy gets the re-knock onto Two-Face. And even though that Seer ultimate goes down, they're going to go ahead and continue to challenge this team. Good night, trying to back away, trying to retreat off of this one, but Excedrin are not letting them get away for free. They're continuing to chase after them.
Team Goodnight, you see them, they got that revive up somehow, or at least assisted in what was the escape there of Two-Face towards the end, but it was nothing of a reset. Now, Nerf, hearing the shots that have been started out here, have made their way back towards the edge of Epicenter, and they're actually providing damage to both of these squads here. No knocks as of yet, but obviously in the prime position to potentially third party with whatever team falls first.
That ring and pulling away, you can see why it was so important for Tyson to back away towards that eastern edge. For Nerf, though, they're going to have to deal with multiple teams coming in from that western side. Excedrin probably the biggest threat to them here on the western side. They're getting tagged up throughout all of this, but they do back away to safety for the resets for now. They do have the option to try and turtle up if they want to, but I might just spell defeat for them later on. Turns ends up going down. Puddin finds an angle, but that we do know that Goodnight are down to a duo here. So this is going to be a 2v2 for Nerf if they want to try and fight up into this. But Puddin ends up getting that thirst onto Turns. And if they don't have a mobile respawn beacon, I don't think they're going to be able to get Turns back into this game. And they are going on full retreat here. I don't think they'll have an option to try and get that banner.
Goodnight coming through there. They themselves have no option to get Two-Face. That time's out there just at the very end. Surprising to me is the fact that most of the pressure that they were dealing with from behind has at least kind of come to its end here. It seems like Goodnight, though, continuing to follow suit on what they potentially started as they continue to look lower here. Meanwhile, Excedrin, they go for the other side this time around. It looks like they found something out here towards the east.
Yeah, they ended up wrapping around towards Overlook. There's a team up here with the Watson setup. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to get much value here with that defensive bombardment, but never mind. There connects. The interception pylon might not have been down. The Seer ultimate has been used as well. Excedrin just going to wait this one out, try and see if they have an angle on it, but it looks like that Seer was able to get in on the other side of that ledge, so no real angle of attack for them here. Enemy will go ahead and take to the skies, getting some decent damage off with that flatline. He is starting to run low a little bit, and he gets tagged up from behind. They're in the middle of a sandwich, and now they've got to be careful, but that's a great turnaround from Excedrin, and they're happy to take any fight that comes their way, so they instantly pivot and take the fight to their south instead. Kimchi Lee forced to bubble up. Now you can see Cruisin is on that front line. Tyson taking the fight as well. Nerf has been eliminated. Excedrin ends up losing out on Cruisin. They were two separated here. Now this sandwich forcing them down onto low. Spectre Esports here on the high ground now. Looking to finish things off, looking to punish, but Excedrin still have fight left in them. Gordo has gone down. They don't take that push on up. Now Tyson coming in for the third party as well. Looking to knock out Excedrin in just a moment, but Oxy Aries will back away as that defensive bombardment does come down from Kimchi Lee. He still needs some more valuable time to hit up the heals. He will be able to get that medkit. He is taking a little bit of zone damage here as Oxy Aries spots him out on the right-hand side. Enemy getting the re-knock onto Gordo. But that's still not going to be enough to buy him space. Kimchi Lee has to tank the ring to get to the other side to join up as enemy ends up falling. And now Excedrin on their last leg. It's going to be the final fight here as it looked like Team Tyson might be able to get the win. Oxy Aries dropping down to knock out Excedrin. And now they turn around onto Spectre Esports. They've got the man advantage. Team Tyson will take game number 3 here in Series E.
I'll tell you what, it has been a while since I've seen that Zone 5 finish, even on an open night like this. A very early end to our Game 3 here. You see, what was Tyson finish out their early fight against Valk, eliminate that squad, and then make the very quick rotation, realizing that Spectre and Excedrin were in a fight of their own all the way out there towards the east of Overlook. And obviously, I mean, we both knew it. It was more than a perfect setup after all that damage had already been provided between both of those squads for Tyson to come through.
And again, it's also just the clarity of mind that they had early on when they ended up taking the fight inside of the building to the south of Climatizer. Worried about that third party, they back away from Team Nerf. They back away all the way over towards Climatizer to avoid any more mid-game fights. They set themselves up for success very early on and then bide their time. And so even though they miss out on a few kill points, they get the +12, which is what's most important here.
Right, and remember Tyson kind of being, I believe, at the lowest end of the spectrum for all of our partnered squads coming out of games 1 and 2. So I'm more than happy to find that kind of rebirth for this team, even though they haven't had the best showing here on World's Edge. Hopefully they can continue to maintain that now that we are likely to see something a bit different now that Stormpoint is, of course, on its way.
Yeah, Stormpoint's going to be a whole different beast. I mean, we didn't know exactly what to expect, especially in terms of composition. We've had wildly drastic different compositions across the board. It hasn't been like a 100%, or like a 90% pick rate for the same, you know, Gibraltar Valkyrie squads. We've been seeing a lot of Seers. We've been seeing a lot of Horizons. It's been a real treat so far here in Open Night in terms of legend compositions. But now let's go ahead and send it on over to Yeso to break down our final match there on World's Edge.
Thank you, gentlemen. Big win there for Tyson, a team that has certainly felt like it's been a roller coaster ride for them all throughout this season. Before we break down more of that victory, I do want to talk about my second early season MVP candidate, and coming from Team Vizio, it is Sung. Of course, a veteran here in Series E. Sung has been around since the beginning of it all. Let's take a look at his stats here. And Sung, a big part of the strong start that Vizio had. His team Void, Sung and his squad dominated through the qualifiers. They were the best team in quals and came in with big shoes to fill, right? Taking over for Team Vizio, the defending Series E champions, the new squad representing Team Esports Arena. And Sung has stepped into the role well. 59 kills coming into tonight with 61 assists and averaging just over 1,000 damage a game. Sung has also been flexible in terms of legends, has been mainly playing the Caustic, but has brought out other things, specifically like the Bloodhound that he was playing early on in the season. And of course, you know, you'll pretty commonly see Sung bringing out things like the charge rifle, farming those Evos, getting things rolling for Team Vizio. And Sung has been a big part of the Vizio's early success. Borton and Blitz have rounded out this roster well, but the standout for me so far this season on Team Vizio has been Sung. I've been very impressed with his play so far this season, and I'm looking forward to more from him as the season continues. Let's take a look, though, at that champion squad. And reminder, I do have one more early season MVP candidate I will talk about later on in the show. But looking at Tyson and their performance there in game number 3, a solid showing here. They pick up 10 kills, so a nice 22-point game here for Tyson, and Z Davis leading the way with 4 kills. Not a huge game here from Tyson. Those damage totals certainly lower than we've seen from teams in our first 2 games of the day. But this is just a solid, respectable, well-played game from Tyson, especially because they have struggled to get into the late circles so far today. I don't think they have a top 5 finish in games 1 and 2, but they slowed things down nicely, chose their fights well, and it's a big reason why they grabbed the win there in game number 3. Let's take a look at how they won it all, though, in our Mobile One high performance moment here. It was in the end game. Excedrin were in the mix once again. They've been very good tonight, but they couldn't make it into the top 2, and then it was just cleanup duty here for Tyson. They finish off Excedrin, and then they finish off the rest of this game. And Z Davis has certainly been a player I've gotten to watch a lot of play from over the last year. Of course, jumped into Series E for the first time in Season 3 on Team Pop-Tarts, and really has grown a lot. And it feels like joining up with Joey Blackout and at Oxy really has Z Davis and the entire squad playing at a really good level, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from Tyson in the future. I'm just hoping that they can kind of stabilize. As I said at the beginning, this is a team that has had, you know, that roller coaster kind of a season. High highs, low lows, still plenty of Apex to play. I want to see this team really settle into being that constant threat for top 4, for top 5, winning more games, because I think the talent level is there. The execution just hasn't always been there so far this season, so we'll see what they can do as we head over to Stormpoint soon. Before we go to a break here, let's talk about PvE. Of course, if you guys have been hanging around for a little while, been talking about it a lot, I'm a big fan of it because we know here at Esports Arena, not everybody can dedicate 3 or 4 hours to play through, a whole night of Series E or other esports competition. And some of you want to compete in a little bit more bite-sized pieces, and you can with PvE. All you have to do is go out to your local Esports Arena. You can use exclamation point locations in Twitch chat right now to find an Esports Arena near you. Purchase tokens, and you can compete in multiple different leaderboards every single week across a range of different games. We do things like Aim Labs, Valorant, Guilty Gear Strive, Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate Home Run Derby, Mario Kart, and more. We're always changing up titles, game modes, and more. So go in, put up your best scores, and you can win cash. Each leaderboard has its own $500 prize pool, so we're giving away thousands of dollars in cash every single week. So go out to Esports Arena today, compete in PvE. And if you want to keep track of your scores, remember, we've got 24/7 live streams going on our YouTube channel. You can keep track on how your scores are doing. And you could be like my friend Jack here, trying to put up some good scores in Aim Labs. He's going to throw a hand up to the sky. Looks like a better performance this time around. If you were here for Halo yesterday, the score wasn't quite as good, but I think Jack's feeling a lot better this time around. We'll see if maybe he could take home some of that cash for PvE this week. But if you could beat his score, go to Esports Arena today. Compete in PvE. We'd love to see you there. Right now, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're only halfway through, folks. Plenty more action as we head over to Storm Point. We'll be over there with Jamerson and Zephyr when we come back.
All right, welcome back to Series E. We are about to move on to Storm Point for our final 3 games of the day. But as we have hit the half, let's go ahead and check in with the Mobile One leaderboard to see where everyone starts now. Motive, though, have moved themselves up just a little bit. Start a fight now down by 4 points, but Excedrin will be able to move themselves up into 3rd place with 38. Intel now in 30. So now our partnered squads after 3 games have kind of stabilized. And even though we had a pretty distinct lead for Motive at the beginning, everything has kind of evened out here. Now becomes multiple teams that are now in the running for our 1st and 2nd place positions.
Yeah, exactly here. And for Motive and Start a Fight, they fell relatively early on in comparison to what we had seen. And as a result, as you've mentioned, the other squads have begun to close that gap. So we're at this point where one really good game 4 is enough to push you into the top 1 or 2 positions, especially if you're looking to get your taste of some of those prizings. For Tyson, who just picked up their win, though, they didn't actually close as much of a gap as we had assumed. You were right on the money. Not much KP, but just pushing themselves into that 1st place position did at least get them in that kind of top 10 that we know them more consistent.
Yeah, it was a 22-point game for them, so they only had to, like you said, they were basically, I think, in like 15th place heading into game number 3, propelled themselves with that win into top 6 at this point. And this is a squad that, you know, when it comes down to being able to slow down the gameplay, they definitely do. They're not always looking for the flashiest of wins. I find them getting more victories around the 17-point mark. So 22 is actually stellar win for them there in game number 3. Now, when it comes to Storm Point, though, there are so many questions up in the air. We saw in game number 1, there were a lot of 50-50s. This might be a very similar case here in game number 4 or our first match of Storm Point.
Well, at the end of the day, these teams haven't shown any inkling of slowing down here. And at this point, all you can hope is the fact that Storm Point is maybe just too large for these teams to find the level of fights that they have had as quickly as they have in these earlier games of World's Edge. So who knows, maybe that'll be making its impacts here. But obviously, another point that we'll get to touch on once again as we make our way into Game 4 is what compositions exist here. Something like World's Edge looked nothing like we are used to. I don't know if Storm Point will be the same.
Yeah, we had a lot of fuses. We had Mad Maggie. Almost everyone in the roster used except for, Lifeline and I want to say Revenant. One of the few legends that we actually have not seen today. And Rampart, I believe. Those are the 3 legends that we have not seen so far, or at least to the best of my knowledge. But here we go, heading into game number 4, our first game of the day on Storm Point. Let's join on board with Team Tyson, our winners from game number 3.
I want you to know someone's out there listening in chat to you saying that, and they're thinking, Game 5, I've got nothing to lose. Now, mind you, we've already just had the dropship just get like halfway here, and enemies already finding Nox with an ulti.
Gonna be over here at the downed beast, Mike and Ike fighting a Feist as well. So a lot of fighting here on the western side of the zone. Shiny actually trading away with Valk as Lane ends up going down there. So we were asking, are there gonna be 50-50s? Well, it's already been answered. 3 teams gone, 17 squads already remaining here. Mike and Ike will just go ahead and back away. Vizio took this fight over at the Mills. And now we'll see, maybe there's a third-party timing for our team coming out from the northeast of them right now, I believe, which is Excedrin. But Excedrin had a 50-50 of their own, it seems.
Excedrin, yeah, we saw them start off drop with a few drops. Maybe not quite the full cleanup. You can see their enemy still kind of hunting those angles. Very indicative to me that, yep, there he's searching. Just barely misses what is the very corner cusp of that escape. But oh no! It's the switch back towards the alternator, finds the drop onto Tua.
Yeah, so Motive, despite their amazing game number 1, have not been able to regain their footing in the last 3 games, on the verge of getting knocked out in just a moment. Taking a look at the ring, though, we're going to have a hard pull down towards that antenna side. And so the south, we'll see how much of it can Team Intel try to rotate through and clear things out. First in their path is going to be Team Tyson playing over at Shipfall, and they've got to be careful. They've got to regroup soon instead of taking a very greedy looting path, because Team Intel typically like to try and find early fights on the southern side.
I like this from Enemy. He's setting up what is potentially that bait to kind of play back into this choke to see if anyone might be coming through this way to, obviously Krokos is still alive, so to retain, maybe get his teammates' banners back. For now, though, it looks like fights to continue here in our feed. Both Borgia and Aizen falling on their own. This is the Goodnight crew finishing the job here as Triple Z taking out Stormcatcher. Oh, it looks like someone's coming in from the ground lift. What a follow-up on the 301 there.
Yeah, Goodnight. They don't really have to drop down for this one. Unfortunately, though, doesn't really have the mag for the R301. If he did, might have been able to secure that thirst, but it looks like it might have been a rescue effort to maybe try and steal away some of this loot, possibly. But Team Goodnight, despite getting a team fight win here, they don't actually get much in the ways of armors. They're still sitting on whites and blues. Team Vizio, though, looks like they have ran into a squad as they try to rotate a little bit north to that downed beast area. We know that Mike and Ike were over there. I'm trying to remember if they retreated to the north or to the south of it. So this might be Mike and Ike ahead of Team Vizio right now.
Vizio here, a break for a break. B. Borton gonna take some time. He'll back up. They've got at least the level of control here, preventing what might be that rotation. And obviously now Sung with that black market boutique, they can sit here for as long as they want and stay particularly healthy. Meanwhile, it looks like Intel fight of their own right here on the outskirts of Intel. James Fearless doesn't catch Oxys on the side of that car, and as a result, pays the price.
Looks like Tyson were able to regroup just in time for this rotation and this push out from Team Intel. A lot of damage was dished out onto them though, but Joey Blackout and Oxy Aries are both going to hit up those batteries. Nice crack there as they get that Arc Star in. The knock onto Mooney. Tyson pushing up. And now there's only one player remaining for Team Intel. As they get knocked out, we're down to 14 squad. Vizio ends up cleaning up Nerf. It was Nerf that was here, and here's Mike and Ike coming in for that third party, but should be relatively safe as they do go in for that push. Vizio goes down. Mike and Ike finding that isolated third party out by the mills.
Mike and Ike obviously hearing the shot, so it looks like they did carry themselves a little bit maybe more towards that northern end, but we're well within the vicinity to clean up as we've spotted. But for most of these squads, they won't be finding, I think, much of anything else here. Spectre proves me wrong as they've maybe got something going here in Gale Station, but with 13 squads remaining in the entire map still left in play, Stormpoint doesn't give much leeway for the kind of heavy collapse that we typically see, say on something like World's Edge being as small as it is.
Hey, we got our lifeline, so I think we've almost hit bingo. We just need 2 more legends, I believe, to get picked up. No, Pathfinder, actually.
Octane,
3 more legends at this point. Spectre
Rampart.
Esports at this point, though, making another push. They're going to clean up Nerdy Esports, and that's why you can't just play contained like that. You got to have a little bit more initiative in your holds. Guppies ends up cleaning up 2 as well. We're on the verge of getting knocked down to about 11 players here. Monty Gosu getting focused down, but it looks like that scan comes out. He's going to be safe. They will clean up Kova squad. We are now down to 11 squads. Round 1 with 2 minutes and 20 seconds before it finishes closing.
And I'm pretty sure that 11th squad there is Motive, that final lasting member that didn't quite, Crow, didn't quite get taken out or completely wiped there by Excedrin. So I believe that might be our rat here on the map among our squads remaining here. Razer take to the skies, just find their landing here. We've got a squad ahead of them at Antenna, but they themselves are going to set up within this building. One of the first squads to kind of start bunkering down, and they can do just that, especially with nades on that Caustic.
Yeah, we know that Intel ended up going down here over at Antenna. It was Tyson that had early advantage to get inside, so they might be able to play off the beacon here. Never mind, they decided to rotate out instead, using that trident, taking a lot of damage though. In fact, all the way up to the south of Shipfall. They're going to have to be careful. There are multiple squads in the area coming out from like Gale Station and such, and they believe they should have the armor advantage. Remember, Spectre Esports have purples. You have a Watson squad inside of Shipfall right now, and it looks like Tyson want to try and turn onto it. Nice single there for Z Davis as he gets the instant crack. He's going to charge forward now. Arcstar in. Doesn't quite get the connect, unfortunately. Has to deal with an interception pylon inside. So eventually they're just going to slow heal this one up as he goes for that peak. The Seer ultimate down as well. Team Tyson building off the momentum for the last game. Big 90 from Z Davis here and is able to swivel onto the next one. Brandon Falls. Spectre Esports does trade for 1, but Oxy Aries and Joey Blackout still healthy here. Only 19, but they get the knock onto Gordo. And now Tyson with the 1v2 will finish off Spectre Esports.
Well done from Tyson. I like the level of aggression that we're seeing. They're kind of maintaining the pace after that third game where they just picked up that win. Meanwhile, in that feed, you can see Team Goodnight falling as well, bringing us below double digits here at the close of round 1. Shots being had in Antenna, though. Start a fight on the slow ground. I believe they were forced to drop.
Ooh, Excedrin able to just get a free peek there. Get the knock. You can see they're trying to cover the doors, but Kimchi Lee is in with Cruisin, using that bubble lead, taking so much damage as Cruisin tries to take the 1v1 up against his Valve, slowly losing out. They do get that knock. There we go. They finish it off. Guppies is gone. Now down to 8 squads remaining.
And it looks like more to potentially follow suit. Start a fight you were just talking about here in Antenna. Make their way back up, and with a beam like that, they're more than happy to see the number 7 on the board there. Start a fight completely secure in their elimination. Now, we know there's some squads on the other angles here from Antenna, but no one is making pushes.
Yeah, for Team Tyson, they are just holding down the south. They think that this ring is going to continue to pull down. We'll see if that does remain to be true. Team Tyson, though, They've got bodies here. They got all of Spectre Esports. There's going to be an additional layer of armor swaps for them to play off of. Razer, though, they've got this connecting area up towards Antenna. They have that high ground right now, peeking across Tyson. They've got to be careful here, though, because if someone does end up going down, easily can someone push out from Antenna. Now, you do have Blake and Nades there. You can see Boxa T was not safe. He doesn't have a bubble or anything to really back him up. They tried to go for the scan, and now here's Mike and Ike making the push onto Spectre Esports. They have backed away, though, as Mike and Ike take roof control over this squad, and that heartbeat sensor is so huge for MJ. You can toss down the Q in 15 seconds, but it looks like they will be able to get the heals off in time. And the Seer ultimates are down from either side, creating a deadly Venn diagram there, but it looks like MJ finds an angle to try and push off. Needs the help of Mar and Bastola. They throw down that singularity, keeping them stuck in that corner as Mar takes so much damage. MJ still trying to find this isolated player, and he gets peeked at the wrong time. 45 damage, though, and Mar is there on the flank, but now he gets challenged by 2 more. But he's buying time on this bubble before he falls. Tyson is here as Bastola comes in with that PK, gets the knock, but here's the third party from Razer.
Razer up on the side here, and with the utilization of that Seer habitat, they know exactly where they go. The gravity lift has missed it. Caught out by the edge of that building. I don't think it would have let Mike and Ike survive any much longer, but still a bit of a shame to see for Razer, though. They're happy to pick up the additional KP. Start a fight here on their own angle. They themselves pull away from Antenna like Razer just as quickly as they make their way out to potentially follow suit, albeit not as quickly, so can't quite come through, and they're going to have to actually make their way back towards the POI itself.
Yeah, we did see from that ring scan, the ring does continue to hard pull down to the south here. I believe that was what we were able to glean from that. But Start a Fight are going to be in an excellent position to try and gatekeep any other squads that might be coming from Antenna. But this is still round number 2, so there are a lot of rotation options for our squads. They don't have to funnel into this choke. They can go to the western edge. They can go over towards that Gale Station side to just basically avoid them. And you can see Excedrin now making a delayed rotation out from checkpoint. They're going through Jurassic Park. Now they are making their way into Antenna.
And they got a ways to go in comparison to everyone else who exists within this lobby. 4 squads, 1 rat here still on the board for Excedrin. They won't be seeing anybody soon as they're just kind of slowly making their way through. Yeah, take some time, beat up a Prowler or 2, get yourself Red Evo. You'd be one of the few squads to do so.
Yeah, for Excedrin, though, they can take their time out here. I mean, there's going to be plenty of Prowlers available for them. It looks like they do have their respective best loadouts so far. You got the flatline PK in the hands of Kim Chi Lee. You have to imagine cruising enemy, both going for the car flatline combo as well. Looks like it's going to be a 301 PK for enemy, actually, and he has been absolutely beaming and monstrous with it as Start a Fight, trying their best to secure this. It's a G7 Scout, not quite what you want to see out of this drop, but they will go ahead and take it and back away.
Jeez. Start a fight here, though. Getting ready to cover this angle. This is exactly where we just saw Excedrin. A nice break found there from afar. Matt Pickett with the wingman. By the way, a one-time hollow at that to pull this one off. Granted, covering this angle, there's still a plethora of rotations for Excedrin. They don't have to take this exit from Jurassic Park. They can go for Valkalt, kind of swing all the way around if they want to, waste some time over there on the edge, come with a late rotation with the redeploy. I mean, that's what happens when it's currently still Zone 3 and there's as little squads as there are.
Yeah, 4 full squads, I imagine, at this point. Banana Hammocks being one of them, and 1 rat still trying their best to survive. Every single placement they can get is going to be an additional point or 2, so this is extremely crucial for them. Banana Hammocks, though, here on the southeast side, coming from that Gale Station area, going to have to be careful because we know the teams that ended up winning the fights over here are extremely stacked, and I don't know if Banana Hammocks are aware of that themselves. The wingman car here for Delta Daddy, charge rifle from Razer as they try to find the opening damage, just trading away damage up against that arm shield. So nothing really getting gained so far from Blake U, but maintaining this position. You can see that ring scan. It's pulling away towards that respawn beacon.
Well, for Razer, they're more than happy to put themselves in this position. They'd like to potentially take that one away from Banana Hammock, maybe given the opportunity, begin to set up, but I think just putting themselves in this position, the Caustic on nades, I think they've got some time to hold, but it's actually from behind. This is that rotation I talked about. Excedrin, they swing far. They swing all the way down to the south, and guess what? It provides success for them. They find an initial drop, and maybe none more to follow suit, but it's much better than taking what we saw early there.
Yeah, like we said, because of the game state, there was just so much space for them to find a rotation here. So they get that knock onto Blake, but they're not going to be able to follow up on it. It's just not a place for you to be able to just make that easy push. The two other squads will easily be able to get sightlines on you. You want to maintain this position over the high ground hill, even though they don't know where this ring is going. This is a nice middle ground place position to play off of to keep their options open. As this ring finishes closing. Once it does, though, in the next 50 seconds, they'll have a better idea of what they are capable of doing. But because of the ambiguity of the ring, they can't really give up this position. So really like what Excedrin are doing here. They're not trying to force the issue at all whatsoever. They're just going ahead and making sure everyone knows of their presence.
Now, my question is, where is this rat? I believe it is that final member of the Motive roster, if I've been keeping track appropriately here. We might have to check in just a moment, but for Razer, Start a Fight, Excedrin, Banana Hammocks, they've all got this, like, perfect kind of cross-section between all four positions out here in this open field, and I think it's going to really come down to when you get to that final move where you have to make your way out from either antenna or obviously in towards the east, that we'll finally see maybe a squad fall or two in. But as our lovely observers have showed, yes, it is Crow there from the Motive roster. He's our rat.
Yeah, and it looks like in his path is going to be Excedrin. He's on that north side inside of antenna right now. So we'll see if Excedrin keep their eyes and wits about them, because they're going to have to deal with one just to their north. And know that Crows does have some fight in him, but it's going to be triple reds that he has to deal with. For Razer, though, still battling, poking and prodding up against the squad that came out from Gale Station, and now they are getting cut off, but I believe they should have a fence line to play off of here and still remain safe in the next zone. So they don't really have to really poke out too far ahead, and yeah, they do have basically that little quadrant there just to their northeast to play off of for the safety of the next zone.
Woo. Ooh, that 30-30 is a bit dirty. Dome is down. Now, Icelet's going to give us some time for a reset. You need to see most of these squads, though, start making their moves forward. Excedrin as well. I like the fact that they've already kind of taken this position from the grab cannon. Still, they have to defend against antenna itself. This is kind of this notable spot, especially out here towards the northern end of the map, that will be highly contested for at least when Start a Fight makes their move.
Oh boy, enemy getting tagged up as he's trying his best to avoid a lot of this, but we'll see. He does back away, and like you said, having that gravity cannon as additional cover does work out for them, but they are right on top of them, forcing out the bubble. Kimchi Lee has used it. He's batting up right now. They're not going to have a bubble, and they're stuck out in the open here as they're trying their best to survive. They back away. Razer even taking shots at them, but Excedrin are doing a great job of backing away until Kimchi Lee ends up going down. Ooh. That's going to be Start a Fight, picking up that knock with that G7 Scout. I lauded just beforehand. Here comes the Arcstars denying the reses as well. This gravity lift, though, might be able to turn things around, but they are getting flanked. As you can see, the Mirage decoys actually throwing them for a little bit of a loop, but not for long, as enemy gets that knock onto Matt Pickett. It's still a 1v2 for enemy. He's going to hit up that bat. He might be able to fight into this one. He has the height as the Q comes out. Ooh. And now Razer coming in for the third party here. They saw the trades coming in, and this is their opportunity. They are able to spot them with that Seer passive as well. And now he gets spotted out on that Valkyrie, instantly canceling that ultimate. Aves goes down. He will be able to finish off Cruising, but Start a Fight are knocked out. Kimchi Lee, next one to go down. Excedrin still alive. We've got two rats alive throughout all of this. And now Razer only have to worry about this final team.
Banana Hammocks on the other side. Remember, this is the squad that quite literally had been falling on their early 50-50 against Intel out towards Climatizer for our first 3 games of World's Edge. And now they're pretty much one of the few squads, if not the only, in the prime position here to win out the first game of Stormpoint. I mean, they have zone control. Here's the thing, though. They're going to have to go up against the most ultimate of tests, the entirety of Razer, who, albeit maybe not the most successful of our partnered squads, is tried and true and well tested among the competitive Apex scene.
They have spotted out, it looks like, the final member of Excedrin there in the missile swarm just to force him out. Right now, it's all coming down to what these rats can possibly do, and Razer are dealing with them. So they have understanding of where at least one rat is, but they don't know where Crows is. But Crows might actually throw in the wrench to the other side up against Banana Hammocks, as he's probably creeped in from that antenna side.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong there, but I don't think Excedrin were running Horizon, right? Because if they weren't running Horizon, then that might be Crow right there.
No, I believe they were running a Horizon.
Okay.
Yeah, they were definitely running the Horizon, I believe.
Okay.
And so that was the last member of Excedrin backing away.
So 2
but here
Horizons.
we go.
Oh, you're right.
Enemy
there you
is
go.
there on the other side of the fence, but here it is. It's going to be the final ring closing now. Razer able to actually walk up for free here. And now Banana Hammocks trying to set up a crossfire up against them. Enemy is going to be the bane in the side and the thorn in the side, quite literally up against Blake Yu, dishing out a lot of damage, still surviving throughout all of this. Banana Hammocks, though, should allow him to just kind of poke and prod up against them instead of just trying to secure this kill. As you can see, he is still alive for the time being. Now they have to worry about Crows coming in from the north, but I don't think they quite realize that threat. Enemy will ultimately go down. Excedrin only securing 4th place here. Crows getting value for his squad. Razer taking a lot of damage from that ring as they push up. Box of T right in front of BNS, but it looks like they are ready to reset. The barrels coming in. There is the Nox gas grenade. The defensive bombardment has been tossed down. Nades will go down, and now Razer left in a 2v3. As you can see, Box of T backing away from this one. PK shot not quite connecting there as they're eating some damage. And now Blake Yu, the only one up for Razer, and that's going to be Banana Hammocks picking that one up. Crows coming in for that third party. They're trying to hit that res. There is the bubble, though, and Banana Hammocks should be able to secure this up against that final rat, but Crows, he's going to make a last-ditch effort coming in with that singularity. I don't really think it's going to be enough. He's got the arc star in as well as the armor swap comes out. Banana Hammocks, they're getting pushed now by this one man, and they are cowering, but they will ultimately get the win here in game number 4.
Banana Hammocks from 20th to 1st on our first iteration of Stormpoint. Props to them. I mean, they had what was that God spot, and they held on to it here. And granted, maybe not the most KP or really anything kind of taking advantage of the third parties that might have existed around them, but hey, they played for positioning there, and it netted them what they wanted.
Yeah, and all just really came down to basically Enemy being able to delay the push out from Razer. Razer wanted to get a better position up against Banana Hammocks that entire time, but you can see 5 seconds delay because of a rat. It mattered there. So Banana Hammocks do come in game number.
Well, with all that being said, on top of that, I will also bring up the fact that Crow there had a very, very successful last as a rat for Motive. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but we saw Motive pretty much go down in the first, 30 seconds of that game, and it was left up to Crow to just continue to survive. And thankfully, the pacing of how aggressive this game was actually allowed Crow to last that much longer, because there weren't as many teams that had the opportunity to kind of spot out those rats. And as a result, Crow actually finishes in 2nd place, putting up another 9 points here for Motive, who might still be in the lead when we take a look back at that leaderboard.
Yeah, they were down by 4 points, or at least actually leading by 4 points in first place. So that +9 will prove invaluable for them going into the final 2 games of the day. They are not safe in first place, though, whatsoever, with so many teams now really finding their footing. Excedrin doing a great job of finding early game, mid game fights throughout all of this. Really unfortunate that push coming out from start of fights. You can see that Razer were able to take advantage of that afterwards as well, but there was so much fighting that was actually taking place down here by landfall. Excuse me, shipfall.
I mean, it's hard to tell exactly where the points ended up in the face of all of that there. I think when we look at the leaderboard, I'll be very curious to see if Starter Fight has surpassed Motive, given that they did last maybe a little bit shorter than Motive going into this one, but they should have picked up some notable KP in what was their fights around Antenna.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and send it on over to Yesa to break down our first game of Storm Point. So Yesa, go ahead and take it away.
A fun little parallel there. Our first game on both maps today, interestingly, end up with a single horizon, throwing in a black hole and trying to get the 1v3. And both times, they kind of came down to the wire there. Credit to Crow trying to make something happen against Banana Hammocks in that end game. But Banana Hammocks hold on and grab the victory. And that's huge for them, as I think Zephyr and Jamerson making a really good point, talking about how that Climatizer 50-50 really not going in their favor during the first half. Having to fight Intel off drop is a death sentence for a lot of teams here. But Banana Hammocks able to settle in here in their fourth game, and they grab a win. 5 kills to their name in this one, so not a ton of KP. They're not going to be jumping way up that Mobile One leaderboard here, but this is some very good points for them. They'll grab 17 in this one, and we'll have to see if they can keep things rolling in the final 2 games of the day and really make a respectable performance out of this one. So well played from Banana Hammocks in that one, grabbing the win and closing things out there against that final member of Motive. Now let's take a look at our Mobile One high performance, a moment here from game 4 of the day, and it's going to be over to Mike and Ike once again. They've shown up in the high performance moment a couple of times tonight, but I don't know if this one's going to work out in their favor. They've been a team well set up in a lot of action since they have joined Series E, but it was this beautiful third party here from Razer. Boxity not missing with the R301, and it's a very quick cleanup here on Mike and Ike. And you know, the problem is the advantage as a third party there for Razer is huge, because they come in and Mike and Ike are already down 1 member. They're already losing some health in this fight. And Razer just well positioned. They come in with the Arc Stars to set this up, and easily 1 knock there for Boxity. Quick reload into the finish here. This player not even with any shields to their name. So that's just well played from Razer. And, you know, they still don't have a win to their name here tonight in terms of games, but I'd say they're showing up pretty strong. This has been one of the better performances we've seen from the team so far this season, and we'll have to see how they can finish in the final 2 games to really try and make a statement here in Razer Week, because of course with Pro Night coming tomorrow night, the competition is only going to get more difficult for that squad. Now we're going to go to a quick break right now. When we come back, we've got 2 more games ahead of us here tonight. Before we go, one more reminder: it is Razer Week here. Of course, if you're looking to pick up some new peripherals to upgrade your setup at home, you can at walmart.com/esports arena. I recommend the Viper V2 Pro, as well as that wonderful Black Shark V2 Pro headset. They're exactly what you need. You can pick up those products and more from all of our partners, again, over at walmart.com/esports arena. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, it's game number 5. Jamerson and Zephyr will have all the action for you when we return.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
I'm fading!
One bad headache can crash your entire game.
Excedrin relieves headaches fast.
Excedrin, game over for headaches.
for nothing, baby. Let's get in there.
All right, so the Banana Hammocks ended up taking the victory there in game number 4, our first game on Stormpoint. Let's see what that means for them on the Mobile 1 leaderboard. They were, like you said, losing the 50-50s over at Climatizer up against our Team Intel squad. But with that win, that only puts them into the top 10. They are still 40 points out from Motive for maintaining this first place position with 57 points.
Wow. So, I mean, Banana Hammocks, it was quite literally 0 to 17 for them, now into 10th. And the more important thing at the very top of our board, though, is the fact that Motive, they're surviving there of Crow. It did net them a continued position into first place here. Now, it has been the best few games for Motive. They haven't seen the same amount of success like we saw in the first game today, but it has been enough to keep them competitive here. Had they not accrued those 9 points, yes, Start a Fight would be in first right now.
Yeah, they started off the day with a 32-point win and then accrued 25 points over the last 3 games. Like I said, just continuing to put on 5 to 10 points per game will keep them competitive. And so they are able to cruise off of that. But as we head into the final 2 games, now they have to worry about Start a Fight, Excedrin, Razer, even Tyson, who show the capability of taking a win. And so multiple teams in the running, even Team Intel, they haven't been able to get a great game, but we know that the Sparks of Brilliance are there for them. They just ended up running into the iron wall of Tyson there over at Antenna in game number 4 before going down. So we'll see, maybe they kind of avoid that rotation into Antenna and maybe stick a little bit more to the south like they are known to do instead of going into Antenna as early as they did. We'll find out, though. It's game number 5 that's coming up in just a moment. We'll be joining on board with Banana Hammocks to see exactly where they end up landing. We did have a lot of 50-50s taking place, particularly there on the western side of the map. Teams contesting over by the Down Beast, over by the Mills, and I believe over at Checkpoint, Excedrin were involved in a 50-50 early on as well.
Yeah, they were the team that actually brought Motive down to their single member remaining there in that early 50-50 at Checkpoint, but they just couldn't quite finish the job, and that actually came back to bite them much later on. Either way, I don't know if the pace of action will slow. I've made many predictions tonight to say so, but it doesn't seem like it has followed suit. Looks like, though, we are taking a look at our top 7 teams, or my apologies, our 7 partnered teams here. Intel still currently leads the pack, but I gotta say, there's not much of a switch up when you start looking at 2nd through 5th.
Yeah, it's extremely close between those positions. You can see it's only a 34-point difference between Excedrin and Team Tyson down in 5th place. And then we have that large valley between Tyson and Razer and Mike and Ike. Over 140 points. Team Tyson have a comfortable lead over Razer. And along with Mike and Ike, of course, our latest additions, we did give them, I believe, points to kind of put them on almost even footing and have a shot. We still have plenty of Series E, but it's only going to be the top few teams and end up securing a spot, and then our bottom squads will be basically relegated into qualifications once again at the end of the season.
I think it's crazy. I mean, this is awesome to take a look at. The fact that all of these squads and more have continued to find support here in Esports Arena. And a lot of these teams, I mean, most of them haven't really seen the kind of background of, say, Pro League. Some have, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them kind of in that Tier 2 Challenger Circuit area, now getting the opportunity to find consistent practice, go up against the best of the best, especially here now that there's a little birdie that has told me that Pro Knights are on their way back.
Yeah, speaking of those teams, I mean, we got Optimal Ambition, Redeem, so many teams from the Challenger Circuit that we know of.
Yeah.
And so we're so glad here at Series E, we're able to provide a platform where you can get some additional practice at the very least and basically stay up to snuff when it comes to competitive Apex. I mean, we're seeing why it's so volatile in these stages to be able to get ahead in the meta. I mean, in the past, we've seen teams like Optic be able to really adjust to the meta extremely fast, use that towards their playstyle, and succeed off the back of it. So it's very important to be able to have this kind of environment where you're able to test things out. I mean, we're seeing Start a Fight. I thought maybe it was a meme pick with that Mirage, but this is 2 games in a row where they have maintained it. So we'll see if Matt Pickett continues to do that in the next 2 games for Team Start a Fight.
I'll have to talk to Startified after this. I actually got to meet up with those guys at the championship. They were there having a grand old time. Rack, Matt Pickett, and crew, and they even repped out. They had the Startified jerseys as they were, of course, enjoying the ALGS championship. So who knows? Maybe they took some notes or found something in the humor of that existed there in the championship.
Here we go, heading into game number 5. Let's join on board with our winners from game 4. That's going to be Banana Hammocks. Not entirely too sure where they ended up dropping here. We'll see if we have a lot of fights taking place early on. We do have multiple teams. Again, Vizio versus Valk is one that we're looking at over at the mill side. And it does seem like most hated actually have Downed Beast and North Pad to themselves. But here it is, our winners from game number 4. They're going to be playing off the northeast side of the map. Really far for Lightning Rod. It looks like they are keeping eyes on that, and they are best to stretch for it.
I mean, what's crazy to me is the fact that Banana Hammocks, what it seems like is they really just kind of put themselves out here towards the north, kind of carried maybe down towards the IMC army, slow rotation through the complete eastern end, played up through the hillside, and found out that Gale Station, Fish Farms, all that was completely empty, and then found their success just looking out the God Spot. We'll see if they can potentially do it in game 5. Meanwhile, it looks like Vizio taking the brunt of the action here. Saw a successful knock from him. Borton to follow here. It's the Valk squad coming through. And now with Sung caught out in the open. That'll be it for them.
Yeah, great push out. Excedrin, they'll find themselves in a fight. They've already gotten the initial 2 knocks, I believe. That might be a re-knock onto Hopper. Now only 1 player remaining for this squad, as enemy has been able to pull heal up, securing that thirst, and there it is, the final player, as Cruisin is able to at least get that crack. And now pushing forward, that sentinel shot to finish things off. Drake was actually the re-knock, as they do get taken out. Third party attempt though coming in. Excedrin need to be quick on this reset now. As you can see, they're hunkering down. It's Motive coming in for the third party up against them. They have not been able to get anything quite yet, allowing the time for the resets here. Kimchi Lee covering that door by himself, but no, he actually backs off at the wrong time. He gets challenged. Crows picks up that knock onto Kimchi Lee. It's a 3v2. Tua might actually fall here, but never mind. Cruisin will fall. Now there's only enemy remaining. Motive finding a great timing push up against Team Excedrin, who weren't expecting a third squad here at checkpoint.
Mind you, at the end of the day, they've got Tua sitting there with the utilization of that Sears heartbeat sensor, and they are more than happy to track this one down and finish the job that they couldn't pull off in game 4 here. So for Motive, the full 3-man roster. Now a turnaround. They've got a squad just coming out of North Pad over here, right towards that zip line. Potentially maybe even more, it looks like. That's your Mike and Ike team, as well as another here in the initial fight.
Yeah, Mike and Ike, though, are still looting up inside of North Pad, so they're going to have a good 20-30 seconds before anyone really shows up for this one. Looks like it is going to be a slower fight for Team Motive. They did a good job of just dissuading them, having to take that zip line. You had someone covering it the entire time. Taking a look at the ring for game number 5. Hard northern pole all the way up to wall, cascade, and command center here. So 3 POIs that this one can pull towards.
Woo! Well, at the end of the day here, with 15 squads remaining, I know we start talking about those POIs, but these teams don't seem to care much at all. Fights to be had follow suit. Got one going on. Good Vibe guys that found a bit of a break here. Now there is the habitat down. This will give away the position of Good Vibe guys the minute they make their way inside, but I think they're more than happy to continue finding that source of aggression. Captain Cuddles got to be careful there.
Yeah, he gets cracked and start a fight now, trying to turn things around onto them. We do have Benny Boy here coming in with that Horizon. And so I imagine that it is going to be Matt Pickett swapping off as they get that first knock onto Captain Cuddles. Now, multiple fights taking place across the board. Aves ends up falling here. Valk ends up falling as well. And now we're down to 14 squads. They'll start a fight. They should be able to get the reset, be able to get the res onto Aves, but they are getting challenged. Benny Boy dropping down, hit up that bat. They have lost out on height, but they are getting the reset at the very least. That heartbeat sensor along with that Q coming in gives them that information. They have not gone for the full reset here, so if they do have that gravity lift, they can go ahead and challenge, or do they want to just go for the res? And it looks like Aves will try to, but They've got the drop down coming in. They've got the crack. They've turned things around on this fight. Rakinishu getting challenged, though, off that grab lift. He will fall, but they do trade away 1-for-1. It's going to be that 1v1 now as Tyrant tries his best with that Mozambique, getting that crack. He can utilize this Watson generator. No, it's actually completely out of heals, actually, as he hits that bat. And now it's going to be the res coming out from either side. Baited it out. He's full HP, though. Gets tagged for about 50 HP. He does have that grab lift to go for that re-challenge, but it looks like either side going for that res. No, it's going to be another bait. Misses with that PK shot. Misses the second. He's cracked now. Hits only for the 18 here. Needs an armor swap as he tries to back away from this. And Tyrant's actually going to have the opportunity to go for that res. Can he go for that challenge in time? Big 50 shot with that charge rifle, but he's not getting that hip fire shot. Unfortunately, actually does deny and get the re-knock onto free as Aves ends up bleeding out. So Benny Boy with that armor swap can go once again in 14 more seconds. But what a fight here in this 1v1.
And for start to fight, I think they might have already lost out at this given point. The resets have come through. It is a 2v1 for Benny Boy. He's just got to leave. And you can see they aren't really following up here. Here's the problem. You've lost Rack, and it's very unlikely that you'll be able to swing back and maybe potentially pick up that banner there. And they're going to let that one just stem for a while before they go for the wipe. So it might be down to a 2-man for that start of fight roster.
We'll see if they have an opportunity to come back to maybe pick up that banner. They've got 90 seconds to do so. Team Tyson taking the rotation here to the south side now, making their way up. Relatively close to where this fight was taking place inside of Cascade. But as we go far north, Mike and Knight find themselves in a fight in the drop ships outside of the wall right now. Base taking a lot of damage, falling back to go for the reset. Mar and MJ find their knocks onto Monty and Ether. And now it's a 1v2. MJ going for that full reset. And the last player is there. Defensive bombardment has been used and Base gets thirsted off. But Mike and Ike still have the man advantage. MJ slow healing throughout all of this. Mar sliding in to try and challenge up against Gibraltar, buying a little bit more time for MJ to show up. And MJ, long range PK, will finish off Stanky. Now they'll be able to plug in Base to get him back into this. We're down to 13 squads.
I think they're more than comfortable here on the far western end of wall, the outskirts there. Got some time for Intel. This time around, surviving. We saw them fall quite early on what was their trade, kind of southern end of antenna there. Got a bit caught out in a bit of a pinch, and now maybe looking to capitalize on someone else's fight. I believe so. Got that dome down. Arcstar as well. This is going to prevent a rotation on 2 angles here. It's almost perfect. The blast just barely hits on the end of that crack there. It's going to take Impulse for a moment as James Fearless now steps up to play.
Yeah, they're on the verge of getting their revenge up against Team Tyson from game number 4. Drop down. A knock shield, though, proving to be a nuisance. Ooh. And he gets a big 100. Oxy Ares will fall. Now, flash warning, guys. Team Intel getting a little bit of BM up against Team Tyson at this point. They note that there's another team up to their north. Team Nerf were in that fight up against Good Night. They need to reset themselves so they cannot try and turn on to the other fight taking place to their south right now over here at Command Center. But it looks like Team Nerf will be able to get the free reset.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that close or nearby to potentially punish this one out. So for Nerf, it's a happy 3 KP towards their belt until it looks like they might have let this one go. You just see a little bit of a break on the sea there, so no, they're actually following suit. They're going to be breaking their way into the system here. You can clearly see 2 on the runaway. Oh.
Yeah, Singularity used just as a goodbye present, but Team Intel will be safe to continue to chase after this squad. They have made some headway getting all the way through this tunnel.
My gosh.
All the way into checkpoint now, but Team Intel will not let them get out. For Spectre Esports, though, they find themselves in a bit of trouble. Cars taking a lot of damage. They don't have a Gibraltar bubble here, and it's going to be Razer up top. As now they have them completely isolated. Boxa T by himself, taking a lot of damage. But here's Nades, not quite connecting with that Nox Gas grenade, but it's done enough to cause panic here as Nades falls. Brandon picks that one up for Spectre Esports. Razer have not traded quite yet. It's actually Benny Boy that ends up picking up Knock onto one of Spectre Esports. So long range third party there. 4 teams start a fight who were able to get the full reset. Rakinishu and Aves back in this game now. Start a fight, looking to pick off where they ended things earlier on in the game, but still taking a moment to slow things down just a bit. That's going to be the bug out with that Valkyrie ultimate for that squad. Start a fight, though, are just happy to pick up this loot and get their teammates back into this game.
Now remember, the last time that Start a Fight and Motive were both kind of still alive past that round 1 close, not dying to initial pitches or fights, they both fell right around 10th and 9th position. Now, I'm not saying that'll happen again here, but it just gives you the implications that exist. Some of the narrative between these two squads is both of them are in the prime takeaway, potentially some of that prizing or the first place position that they've been some competitive over in these last 4 games. Until here, just landing caught by that singularity. They just break that one off and now are a bit broken themselves. Mooney to fall. James Sirius potentially next to go. Going to run up right against the door, and they're more than happy to crack this one open.
Oh no, Fearless actually tries to hit that battery. Unfortunately, might have been a misclick there, or a misinput. Mike and Ike will get that free 3-0 up against them, picking up much needed kill points for themselves. It hasn't been the greatest of nights for Mike and Ike. They haven't been able to find that much success, and really it was looking towards World's Edge, where I was expecting them to get as many points as possible, but here they can definitely make up for lost time. Triple Z, though, I'm going to go for the full Valkyrie ultimate, surprisingly enough, and Nerdy Esports even have that much HP. Take a look, it's triple white armor, so this was a huge opportunity to actually pick up 3 kill points for themselves, but they let that one get away for free.
I'm surprised that they exist to this level, you know, kind of this late into things here. Round 2 might have been a late start, might have been a revive, something to behold, but for Nerdy, might have just been caught out too many times. For Start a Fight here, their fighting continues. They've carried themselves all the way up from Cascade, and find that drop onto Oxys from behind there. Bit of pressure, but it's not enough to drop Benny.
Yeah, he's able to back away, get into the safety of that building. Again, not running the Gibraltar leaves them very vulnerable to these third parties, and especially when they're looting out in the open like that. So kind of want to see maybe a swap off to pick up the Gibraltar for that extra safety. But here's Razer now, finishing off Borgia. They'll pick up another kill point. They're still here on the south side. They have access to this beacon, so it makes it incredibly strong for them to be able to maintain this hillside. Once Ring 2 finishes closing, they'll know exactly where this final ring will end up pulling. Will it continue to go to command, maybe up towards wall, or will it favor Cascade? They do have pings down there, denoting that players could be pulling up inside of Cascade right now. But for the time being, it's all just passive gameplay for them. It's all about waiting out for this beacon scan.
And most of these teams finally going to take some time here, kind of reserve themselves for the time being. For Razer, they just pick up, I don't think it's the full wipe on that squad, obviously, but it should be a cleared backside for them either way. Granted, they do still have to make their way quite a ways north. They do have Box to T on that rotation available, and my gosh, there's more than enough space for all these teams. They could all be there.
Yeah, this one is pulling up all the way towards the wall. Delt Daddy is trying his best to rat this one out. And we'll have some positions on the northern side to play off of. But it looks like we have 4 teams converging on the western side. Here's Mike and Ike pushing on to Start a Fight right now, as we have Start a Fight actually taking the high ground. Now they lose out on Betty Boy. MJ picking that one up. Bastola with another big PK shot. Mike and Ike survive this one for the time being. They lose out on Mart. Instantly trying to hit that res. Might be able to find the angle here to try and deny this, or at least get a re-knock, but it looks like Mar will be able to survive. No armor swap for him as he takes the time to hit up a Phoenix kit. Tyson is now knocked out as well. We're down to 8 squads remaining. 1 single player actually bugging out with that Valkyrie ultimate, and now Mike and Ike turning their heads. I believe this might be Start a Fight on the other side of this one, as that Seer ultimate does go down. Around all of this, Razer ends up cleaning up Triple Z, so that's going to be 2 more kill points going their way. Mike and Ike, though, taking their time on this fight. The drop down, big shots from MJ. He'll go for the re-challenge, but he gravity lift versus gravity lift, and Tua is there to win out on that 1v1. Bastola, though, will go ahead for that re-challenge, but he's taking a lot of damage himself. Backs away. MJ has fallen, but it looks like Motive will get cleaned up. Mike and Ike picking this one up.
talk about the chase there, Mike and Ike. The absurd amount of mobility in some of these compositions that currently exist for Mike and Ike, though. They were able to retain position, control the exits here for this squad. And now the reset, the loot itself, and hopefully the rotation that follows suit. They've got a bit of time here. They're kind of on the longer end of that zone, a bit mid, but I think they're going to be able to get a redeploy off. If this zone is still kind of set up in the same way as it was when we checked in, I'm more than sure that they can find their way into one of these buildings here.
Yeah, for Nerf, they're patrolling around the southeast side, just making sure their back is cleared and their south as well. They'll have access to so many nice little line cover for themselves. You can see the tree line is there for them to play off of if they want to try and creep up to the north. They have the fence line of the outer compound of the wall to play off of as well, and multiple buildings that are probably going to be free for them. Turns is going to prove invaluable, of course, on that Seer, clearing out the buildings. Messiah dropping down a little bit early, though, to try and get that world drop. Here's Razer coming in for the rotation, and now you've got to be careful. Razer could be falling straight into that squad. They're going to go ahead and cut this skyward dive a little bit short because they do not want to land right on top of the team. They've got a small pocket here, but Nades is taking a lot of damage. Nerf were able to turn around in time to deal with this threat.
Force there with that Kraber. All it takes is one good shot to set yourself up for what could be that next collapse here. Now, for Nerf, they're trying to maybe take some lessons from these last games where they themselves made moves like this prior to, but were collapsed upon, right? So instead, they actually say, you know what? We're going to make our way into zone, set ourselves up first. We've been watching this area. We know it's relatively safe. No one's here. We have the opportunity to swing in and set ourselves up in the prime position. Granted, it's a little bit on that lower ground. They may kind of be giving way towards some head peaks that might exist here, but for the time being, I think this is the right decision.
Yeah, they're smack dab in the middle of the next zone, and so they'll be safe for quite some time. Aves does get finished off. That's going to be start a fight knocked out. Now we're left with 4 full squads. I believe Delth, being the final rat, still playing off that north side, might have been able to creep in for himself. Nerf, with a lot of ground controlled up here, you can see they're actually quite split up as Messiah is on his ones, but he feels relatively safe on this Valkyrie. Of course, a lot of mobility there to rejoin with his squad. He's got that high ground control by turns as well, keeping an eye on the surroundings. So Nerf will go ahead and fully regroup as a 3. Now, double snipers could be a little bit awkward for them. I'd like to see if maybe there is a shotgun swap off for them to play off of here, because again, they're going to need it once we get into these close quarter combat situations into round number 5 and 6.
Yeah, definitely need to make the swap happen there, or else, I mean, there are some of those no-scope Kraber shots that have birthed some incredible moments, but I don't know if it's going to be happening tonight here. Razer, they of course took that position, but now they themselves will have to make some moves. They've got Blake, who set up with some of those gas traps on the very edge of that ridge. It looks like it is successfully within play here for this next zone, but they might be forced down if other teams kind of have that knowledge. But no, it actually looks like they get the entire side here. They're not even going to have to show themselves.
Nerdy Esports getting pushed by Mike and Ike. Full squad wipe for Mike and Ike, and this has been a huge game for them. They've got at least 9 kill points, but I feel like it's so much more than that. If they can get the plus 12, would be huge for them on the leaderboard. They were kind of trailing up against the rest of our squads. For Nerf, though, they've been amazingly consistent across the night. They just want to get a nice win to really put a feather in their cap at this point. You can see Delt Daddy, that one lone rat, still surviving there on the north-hand side. And Nerf are going to be safe inside of this building for the next zone.
It's crazy there. I think Turns is just barely on the cusp of that 65-meter heartbeat sensor, and they don't quite see Delt Daddy, but, you know, it's that one little extra KP that might be netted here. Now, Razer wasn't forced to move in last time around, surprisingly, but this time that collapse is necessary. I'm curious to see where they decide to choose to play into, because they basically are the deciding factor of whether Nerf or Mike and Knight kind of come out on top of this one.
Yeah. For Razer, they should be able to play off of the fence line. It looks like just a little bit of it is in for them, as Nerf have spotted them out. And so they know that they will be basically existing with them just on the eastern side, and that's probably going to be their biggest threat. It is a 3-team affair, essentially, here for this late game, as Mike and Ike actually pushing up, and Delt Daddy has been spotted out. That's going to be Razer picking up that final rat. And so now we're down to our final 3 squads here as round 5 will start closing up. And it does look like for Team Razer, they will be safe to just play here.
I mean, they have a redeploy available if they want to go for that kind of movement there, or go for the wide swing around the entrance here of wall after they see some of those shots found. Thankfully for Nerf, they're in this position where for a second they had to worry about, you know, them being caught out in terms of those above them, Razer, right? But now with this zone closed, that is no longer a problem, right? Box T, that's your last opportunity to get shots off, to get some of that poke before you're at the whim of whomever's making moves on the inside.
This is going to be quite deadly. Razer, though, we'll see. They do have the Seer ultimate to use to try and find an angle of approach to get in for the next zone. You can see that we do have Mike and Ike here on the north side, as Nerf not really quite peeking out. And so if Razer end up walking into Mike and Ike, it's going to be a free win for Nerf to come in and clean up the rest of this. Force gets that knock onto base. Cannot push out quite yet. They're going to try and deny these reses, though. Turns can continually throw down the Qs. If they layer it with the help of Razer as well, they can just completely deny this. Great ordnance coming in for Nerf there as Force gets that re-knock onto base.
Well, and this might be it for Mike and Ike, especially with Force One, with that Kraber. Any kind of further rotation that pulls them away from that bridge, and it's very likely that the damage follows suit almost immediately there. Sadly, though, Razer, it's on this next pull that they're either going to be forced to redeploy, which I think I might like a little bit better, or just go for that swing. The problem is if Razer comes in right on that entrance, it's very likely that the damage is persistent between them and Mike and Ike, and Nerf just get to take advantage of where they've been this entire time, drop, play around some of these bins that exist here on the lower ground, this kind of higher end play that they still have available to them, and then come out with that win.
Yeah, it's going to be bad for Razer, though. They are our last priority. They're going to be the first one to actually have to move out because of the zone. They're basically right there. As you can see, Nerf have options available to them. You can see the wide swing coming out from Forcey as well, just to try and maybe get a flank onto Mike and Ike. And here it is, the final ring closing. We got Mike and Ike, we got Razer, we got Team Nerf. Razer, the first one to move, of course. Nox gas grenade, nades going out on top of Mike and Ike here, but no damage quite yet. Seer ultimates being dropped as well, as Forcey is just trying to hold this height for now with that Kraber. Just needs to connect with one shot. First one not going out quite yet. Connects with the 119 onto nades. And you can see Nerf are just funneling the 2 squads into each other. They are biding their time. They are not forcing the issue whatsoever. A defensive bombardment will be utilized by Forcey, waiting for as long as he can, as Messiah has to back away. Razer turning things onto Nerf now, getting the knock onto Messiah, but there is the quick rest to get him back on up, and Razer just cannot force the issue here. They have to deal with Mike and Ike. The fight is taking place while Nerf are just getting the free reset for themselves. Mike and Ike pushing onto Razer now. They get the knock onto Blake Yu, looking for more big singularity to get the knock onto Box of T, and Mike and Ike are relatively healthy to actually just turn onto Nerf now. Mike and Ike pushing forward. They got the knock, and relatively shortly they will be able to get the win. There it is, Mike and Ike with a huge game number 5 win.
I have to say, Mike and Ike, they were kind of in this pinched position where, you know, forced to deal with Razer here, but I have to say, I think it was the mistake of Nerf there. You saw Messiah kind of launch forward there fairly early on to try to take advantage of that low ground, maybe expend some damage, put pressure onto Razer, but as a result, actually put themselves in a position where they were forced to get a reset off of his drop when he pulled back after taking too much damage, expend that dome, and never really find what was necessary in terms of putting them in a competitive sense for when that rush came through from Mike and Ike, who very quickly cleaned up with the very little health that existed there on Razer below.
Yeah, it was just great coordination coming out from Mike and Ike, realizing that there was a Kraber in play. They didn't really expose themselves to the sightlines to get punished by that. They knew that Razer were going to be forced out to rotate the wall. They allowed those Kraber shots to. So they had the advantage and clean sweep on that team, and then rotate. Basically turn their focus onto that final.
Well, the big question that exists in my mind is obviously we are sorry Jameson, we're getting a little bit of some back end, maybe some lag difficulties there, but we're gonna take this one away when we come back. The final game of Storm Point here, as Yeso will run us through this.
Mike and Ike taking a clean victory there in the final circle. Nerf and Razer in the mix, but Mike and Ike just well positioned, able to get the third party, hit their shots, and grab a win. And of course, the newest member of the Series E partnered squads here, Mike and Ike trying to get some early action here in their time in Series E, and it has looked certainly good so far. Let's take a look at our champion squad in this one. And Mike and Ike showed up strong. That's a hell of a game from the squad here. 18 kills means a 30-point performance here from Mike and Ike. And they really were on the outside looking in on the Mobile One leaderboard here going into game number 5. And now the question is, are they within striking distance of the top of the table? Can they make magic happen and snatch away a top 2 finish here tonight? We'll have to see, but that is a hell of a game here. Mar and MJ both leading the way in kills and damage, and Bastola rounding it up. 9 assists there for Bastola, so that's a really good game from the squad, top to bottom. I do have one more MVP for you guys. We'll do that after we check out our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 5. And it is, of course, Mike and Ike here in the late game. And you can see Nerf and Razer battling it out, but MJ holding on to that black hole there sets up Mike and Ike for this final push. And after Razer gets eliminated, it's just dotting their I's and crossing their T's as they clean up Nerf, and turns with a sliver of health there isn't going to be able to clutch this one up. And yeah, just well played. Nice and patient play here from Mike and Ike in the late circle. Definitely, I will say I'm not the biggest fan of this meta. While I do like seeing Seer and Horizon in the meta, the way it is kind of, at least in some of these lobbies, accelerated these early games to the point where you have about 10 minutes of teams chilling as the circle closes in around them. It's a little too slow for my taste, but we'll see. Before we go to break, let's take a look at my final MVP candidate here for the early part of the season here in Season 5 of Series E Apex Legends. It's a name you should probably recognize because he is our defending MVP here in Series E. It's my friend James Fearless. Of course, Intel haven't had the most impressive of nights here tonight, but the thing you can always trust them to do is frag out, and James Fearless is a big reason for that. Coming into tonight, James Fearless was our kills leader with 115, and I do have to note that means he has over 3 kills per game and has a 31 kill lead coming into tonight over second place. So nobody within even 30 kills of James Fearless coming into tonight. He averages over 1,200 damage a game, also has 78 assists on top of that, so really the entire Intel team fragging out. And while they do have some great performances under their belt, this is not the same Intel that we saw last season, right? The team that was pretty dominant almost every single open night through the back half of the season. They have not been that team so far this year. They have continued to be dominant in early games. They almost never lose 50-50s. They frag out a lot in the early half of the game. They have struggled to close out games on the same level that they did last season. And I feel like if they can kind of find that form they had last season where they were, on a good open night, guaranteed to get 2, maybe even 3 wins, frag out consistently, and really kind of blow the competition away. If they can find that form again, figure out those late game plays, this team will pull away in the standings. Things are very close. We took a look at that overall leaderboard just a little bit ago, and from first all the way down to 5th, it is a pretty tight race. But if Intel can find their stride once again, find that killer instinct in the late game, this is a team that will pull away. And I think James Fearless, a big reason why he is certainly, my leader right now for MVP. But I think Enemy as well as Sung, who I also highlighted here today, have a very strong case as well. We're going to go to a quick break right now. When we come back, we've got one more game on the docket here tonight, so don't go far. Series E continues when we return.
We're praying for good. It doesn't look like it. Let's go ahead and talk about Mobile One leaderboard victory in game number 5.
All right, here we come off the back end of that win there from Mike and Ike that thrust them now with 54 points all the way up to 4th there. Still though, even with Motive falling down, they still retain their position to first. But look at that, it's Razer who, even though they weren't the ones to come out with a win, have now tied against Start a Fight, who have been up there for quite some time.
Yeah, we have 4 teams still in the running to try and take away first place from Motive. Multiple permutations for a top 2 finish in our final game of the day. So it's all about trying to survive that early game where we're seeing so much action taking place basically across the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's an understatement there. We've seen fight after fight here, but for a lot of these squads, I mean, it's still well within their reach. I think down when we start talking about Intel, it gets a little bit more dicey because teams like Razer and Start a Fight have been pretty consistent about accruing points. So that bar of 57 only gets higher and higher as that game goes on here. And you need quite a big win if you're accruing 20 points plus a victory, or 20 points to push yourself up to level for Intel and down. So for Excedrin, Mike and Ike, Starfight, Razer, Motive, those are definitely the 5 squads I'm looking at as we approach our final iteration of Stormpoint.
Yeah, all of our partner squads, after game number 1 being a little bit dicey for everyone, have basically found their footing, but it's Team Vizio who have not been able to get much going at all. They have been continually running into a lot of our other partnered squads in one iteration or another. I believe it was Team Intel that they ran into when it came to the last game. We'll see if they can maybe bounce back for game number 6, so at least finish off the night on good standing. But I'm excited to see where Team Mike and Ike drop. I know they're on the northwest side of the map, I believe. So we'll be joining on board with them for game number 6, which is up and ready. So let's go ahead and join on board with Mike and Ike for our final game and our final drop of the evening.
That's right there. Mike and Ike, a team that, even though they sit obviously at the bottom of the leaderboard for their recent addition, has found some greater success and continues to do so here now going to the open night. And this is really where you start setting up your identity for the rest of the season, even though you're coming in as late as you are. So for Mike and Ike slash kind of the most hated squad, they're doing great at that. It looks like we're already seeing some of the fights taking place here. Razer, they want to continue to accelerate, put themselves even further past Start a Fight, take away that first position. We've already found a drop here all the way out towards Launchpad.
Blake is actually chasing after the Bangalore now. It took a lot of damage, but the 54 there might be enough for a trade at the very least. But they need to join quickly or it's going to slow down the rotation a lot. There it is. Razer finishing off Guppies. We're down to 18 squads now. The kill feed is lighting up as Vizio ends up taking out Valk over on the mill side. So now already 17, and Blitz doing us a solid, picking up the Pathfinder. We got to see if any other team maybe picks up the Rampart. We also still need, I believe, the Revenant to get almost every legend played tonight.
Yeah, I don't know why it's as flexible as it is, but teams maybe having a little bit of fun, like you said earlier on here. And who knows, Jameson, some of these squads are falling so quickly. Maybe they had some of those legends in play before we even got the opportunity to see them. Either way, it's still down to 16 squads, so it doesn't look like our pacing has changed much up. It doesn't even look like our circle has changed at all here. We're still pulling all the way up towards our north, maybe not directly into the wall itself, but a bit more of that split, especially towards that kind of high ground, that slide that you get with the zip line out there, as well as the lower end with the beacon that currently exists.
Yeah, this one favoring more of that Cascade and Command Center side, so really looking towards the open ground between the two of them more than anything else at this point. We do have Start a Fight already set up in that area, and so they can try to play off of the south side zone and maybe play Gatekeeper there, but with their position on the leaderboard, they might want to try and play this one a little bit safer, make sure they get the plus 12 for that finish, and maybe not contest and play Gatekeeper on the southern side. They might try to go a little bit closer in, maybe go into Command Center. We do have a lot of teams actually converging on the western side right now, though. As you can see, Kim Chi Lee is kind of separated from his squad, so Excedrin, they've got to be careful there as Vizio are actually creeping up as well, and he's gone down. He's been finished off by Vizio.
Yeah, we don't quite have the read on the kill feed, but you can see it there on the map. That's it for Kimchi Lee. Might have been caught out maybe a little bit early on what was Vizio kind of breaching the entrance here. It looks like they're going to continue to follow suit. Some more rotations to be had. Over here by Stormcatcher, another series of fights that have been taking place here. Good vibe Guybes. They're doing their best to defend, but will still find their way out. It's Team Goodnight once again finding a successful fight here towards this POI, much like their previous games. Ooh, I will say, I'll just keep carrying on here. Nerdy Esports, via house, also down and out 13th here. We haven't even begun to see a bit of that round one close as, yes, Excedrin have continued to push forward. They want to make sure that they maybe get the opportunity to recover that banner for Lee. Pull that one back together. It's B. Borton that's already been dropped. Now this is a little bit more balanced of a fight to be had here. A 2v2 situation potentially set up. You got Cruisin'. Expending that, it's going to be a bit of the break, going to take some time, throw out the Arcstar, but he's taking shots from behind.
He still needs to admit he's getting dropped as there. And in the two, unfortunately, they're not fast. Get him back.
Ooh, for Excedrin here. A bit of a shame. They obviously lose out on Lee, albeit it was a successful fight for them, of course, in their elimination against Vizio. But at the end of the day here, for Excedrin, you know, continues to net them hopefully some positioning as they're allowed to exist as that two-man. So it's not the worst situation here. Meanwhile, we tune in with Intel all the way down out over here by Antenna, where we've seen them take fights many a times before here. You've got Impulse, has to be a little bit careful for the time being, was broken there, but I love the split that you're seeing from all three members here of this roster. Of course, with that habitat down, they have the perfect read of the center building here so they can continue to aggress upon it. Ordnance is found, Impulse shot from the side. James Furious, you know he wants to break in, but hopefully maybe takes the time to respect, get a reset off, get that battery, much the same of Impulse and Mooney as well. Impulse taking the brunt of that damage over there on the side. You need to see Intel go for the quick collapse here and finish the job before I believe they might be out of their resources. Fearless with the Ordnance. It actually catches Z Davis on what is his rotation out of the door there. Mooney now from the other angle. The PK finishing the job here. Tyson is eliminated. Intel were on the cusp of what they might have had to work with there. There wasn't much left going for them in terms of their sustain, so I'm happy that they finally get that reset, and lucky for them, doesn't seem like anyone else is in the area to potentially third party this one out. So surprisingly, it looks like it's actually kind of crazy. Tyson had a lot of resources to kind of swap around there for potentially getting themselves in a more sustained position. So it was the perfect moment for Intel to come in there and finish the job.
On a better fight on like round number 2, a very similar fight we had in game, though it was team take win, be able to continue on this and maybe our team itself pretty far. We're down by about 27 points to our first place leaders in Motive, but we've seen in the past Team Intel able to pick up a 35-point game, 36-37, so it's not out of the realm of possibility, but time is slowly running out for them if they want a shot at first place.
Yeah, I like I said before we got into this, it's you need to have at least that 20-point game and even further, but as this one is carried forward, it's still Motive and Start a Fight existing within this lobby, so, I mean, that bar gets higher and higher and higher, and to be honest, I mean, 30-point games aren't impossible, but when half of your lobby no longer exists, you need to kind of carry the motion forward here. For Mike and Ike, they're doing a great job defending themselves. That Seer Tactical as well to at least dissuade the pressure, maybe put some damage back out there.
Yeah, they are able to utilize that passive extremely well. They know they have the priority on this fight, but now that black hole to just slow things down, Mike and Ike are forced to back away. It's based is a little bit disconnected from his squad, but he will rejoin them now. Even though it says 11 squads, this is still round number 1 closing, so this fight can take place out here for some time. The ring does not chunk for that much at all, but for Mike and Ike, it seems like they're just going to go ahead and back away from this one. Really don't need to force the issue, especially when they're in a pretty decent position overall. Looks like Razer and Team Nerf ending up getting into a fight here. 4C getting a knock onto one more, giving them the 2v1 advantage overall, actually getting the res already. So Team Nerf might do the rest of the lobby a favor and knock out Razer early.
If you're start a fight here, you'd be loving this one, especially as they're the ones that are currently tied here in terms of the overall leaderboard. And that'll be it. At 11th place, Razer's journey has come to an end here in our open night. And even still, as that fight finishes off, there are shots finding their way all the way toward the northern side where Nerf currently position themselves. Granted, I don't think there's anyone who's going to be making that big of a gap close here, but it gives me a question regarding who might be fighting out there towards Cascade for now.
Yeah, we'll see. Haven't been able to take a look at the ring quite yet, but this one should continue pulling down towards the south side. No beacon scans around for Nerf to try and utilize, but they do spot out a squad. Whoa. Decent damage out here from Messiah, forcing out a bubble, hitting for flesh even. Team Nerf smells some blood in the water, and they want to try and chase that for this one.
Oh, that's that Banana squad that we were talking about earlier who pulled off that win in Game 4 today. They've already found the drop into BNS, and they're more than happy to continue that one along. Team Goodnight, though, on the other side here towards the southern end of the circle, have officially come to their end. That's Intel continuing to try to rack up the major amount of points that they need from eliminating these squads. Meanwhile, Nerf, there you go. That's the follow-through on that fight towards the wall here. Banana Hammocks eliminated as well. We're down to 8 squads remaining here in the midst of our round 2.
Intel, I 19 additional plus 12. It's mathematically for them. This trying with our leaders surviving. 5 teams, maybe for first place. I believe there is a here to move of that. For them.
Ooh, I apologize, Jamerson. Peter out there towards the end, but I think I interpret what you said there regarding Intel, of course, but we'll see how much they can carry forward. Hopefully, things maybe balance out for you on your end here as they're going to take themselves into Command Center, see if they can do good on the words you shared here. Damage is found, but not quite the breaks necessary to go for the full push there. Those ordinances are keeping them back for the time being, but you gotta admit that Habitat is doing a great job giving them the information they need. That's Gordo here from the Spectre roster. Ooh. Cars to follow. One last to potentially Intel. They know they need these kills. You can see it in their gameplay here.
Out, and they are keeping with it, though. For the leave. Might be down a here. Actually going back. Let's connect, unfortunately, with that 33rd. Able to avoid having to move.
Nerf here, long distance control. Obviously, this one may be a little bit too far away for them to maybe find the damage necessary here, but they do hold some good coverage. But here's the problem with where Nerf is at right now. As we've both kind of made predictions regarding the zone, it's obviously going to be pulling maybe a little bit more closer towards that southern end. And after taking a look at our map just a moment ago, we know for a fact that a lot of these squads are definitely kind of holding that position there. So for Nerf, it's going to be this big question of how do they safely make their way across what I consider is kind of one of those more open areas that exist here on Stormpoint, especially when you now know there's teams like Intel just on their way outside of Command Center who have the perfect view of you. Now, for now here, Intel, they've gotten themselves the Kraber. I don't know if that's better or worse for James Fierce. They've kind of been in their face for the time being here. See if they can set themselves up. It looks like they're going to go against this squad here that was out towards the lower ground. Not quite Nerf, who have been set up on the high end. Ornance down, the tactical is found. It's a bit of a break there. Switch towards that flat line here for James Fear's first knock on to Creature. Gonna continue to take this one forward. That Ornance provides most of the damage. Fear's gotta be careful though in the back end. He's getting shot from behind. Hopper and Creature low. One more will do it. They need to get these kills and get that reset onto James Fears as fast as possible, because here comes that third party. This is start a fight. They want to make sure that they take away position in the top two, but Rack is already facing difficulties here. On the other side though, he does find the break. Impulse is down. Broken shield to follow here. Abe's and Matt Pickett, they're more than successful, but Matt Pickett takes the break of his own gold as Nerf now from their high ground. We talked about them needing some level of control in terms of that rotation, and this is what might garner them their success here. Slowly breaking their way through that doorway. Gotta be careful. You can see bit of damage had by the Ordinances, but oh, look at this. Mike and Ike, we talk about potentially fifth parties here as Start a Fight are eliminated, and now Mike and Ike in the prime position to also come in here and reap vengeance upon some of these squads here. Motive on the other end. This might be our final fights of the night here. All three squads, I believe all four potentially within the area here. Motive have taken towards the high ground as they're looking to finish off the last bit of Nerf here. From below, that's going to be that habitat that's hopefully going to give Mike and Ike, or Motive, the opportunity to get a better read on this fight here. Mike and Ike, you can see them on the back end trying to make their way through the building to provide the damage necessary, but as a result, Stola, he's completely alone on his push, and as a result, this might be it for Mike and Ike. You can see MJ with that gravity lift trying to put the damage back here to maybe hopefully get that revive onto base Stola when they get the opportunity, but I'll tell you what, Mars not looking any better as well here. Shot from behind. It is Nerf with the bow check that takes Mike and Ike down to one remaining member here. MJ will be officially eliminated as, of course, you have that combo. Motive and Nerf both in play. And obviously, Nerf are down to their two-man roster. There's one rat left as well. This might be the second Motive win of the night here. I mean, they're in the prime position. Nerf as a two-man. Obviously, this rat being cruising from Excedrin here. This is going to be your final two, teams to potentially try to fight back. But, at this point, it is very difficult as a two in a one-man with no coordination and on the low ground to pull off a win like that. Cruising. Sneaking his way in. You can tell he's just biding his time. You have to wonder what the decision-making is in a situation like this. You know you're already in the top three. You just want to make sure you survive here. For Motive, they have Tua, of course, on that Seer. The closer he gets, you know for a fact that they're obviously going to have that read regarding the heartbeat sensor, and that might spell his end. Nerf, though, I like this. They interpret that the zone isn't going to be up here much longer towards the north, and instead of kind of putting themselves in that low ground position that could have been capitalized on, have already made their way down in towards the southern end of this cascade. And it looks like, meanwhile, Crow and crew have found Cruz, and they're going to be eliminating this rat.
He does take to the sky. The Skyward dive, but he's one shot remaining, and Crows will finish him off. Now it's the 3v2 for Motive here. Just keeping an eye on that death box. He will be gifted that one. But Motive still have to deal with Team Nerf on the other side of this one. Turns and Messiah up. They do have Red Evils at the very least to try and fight up against this 2v3, but it's still going to be extremely difficult for them. Only an Arcstar there from Messiah. Maybe Turns has a little bit more for them. You can see the full three-man of Motive pushing out up against Team Nerf.
It's very difficult here. You need to have at least that initial drop found onto someone of Motive, or else, in reality, this fight just isn't going to be something successful. Now, obviously, Nerf has the zone position going for them here, but at the end of the day, even the bad position, the numbers advantages is just kind of almost an unsurmountable task sometimes in Apex Legends if you're not careful.
In that Seer, just giving away your position, so they know exactly what they're fighting into as they turn the corner. Crows goes to the skies to try and get that angle to a spots out, Turns by himself as well. And both of them are kind of actually just playing on their ones, trying to fall back, maybe bait them into overextending at this point. So there is a world where Nerf can actually come out to victors here, but on the other side, Motive are doing a good job of staying disciplined and three-stacking.
Yeah, even though it's a two-man here, even though Nerf are kind of already at that disadvantage, Motive is paying every possible respect because they know just as much as we did that one potential knock could be the, make or break moment that prevents you from finding your success here. And for Motive, who have been in that kind of first-place victory, who haven't had the opportunity to shine since game 1 of World's Edge, want to make sure that they close the night out with all their strengths in tow here. So for them, they've already begun to kind of split here, now have all the angles available. They forced Nerf back up against the zone this time, right on the wall there of that high ground, and they're beginning to take advantage of this.
Yeah, Messiah and Turns have regrouped as a 2, though, and so Motive now have to fight up, like you said, up against that high ground, but again, they know that time is in their favor. They can set up the crossfire. They just need to be patient with this. You can see Tua and Crows off on the left-hand side. There should be a right flank coming out. Tua spotting out Messiah at the very least. Turns is the one maintaining that high ground control just to keep an eye on everybody. But again, the discipline coming out from Motive, the team that started off with a 32-point game win, looking to bookend the night with a victory as well. That huge lead that they started off with, paying off dividends for them, keeping them competitive all night long, despite only having 7 8-point games throughout the rest of the evening.
Ooh, Motive. I mean, you can see them set up. That's a prime angle that they might have been able to take advantage of there. Messiah isn't quite broken even still. But this damage, I mean, it's enough to continue to create this bleeding effect onto Nerf here, where even if, Nerf's paying their dividends, their respects as well, at the end of the day, I mean, they're not going to be able to match up in terms of survivability as, Motive keeps laying the damage down.
Yeah, if there was maybe a Kraber in play for Nerf, it would be a huge opportunity, but without having that one-shot potential, having to rely upon flat volt, there's still, even though the TTK is a little bit low with either of these guns, there's still that possibility. We'll see, though, as Turns is just doing a great job of actually keeping them at bay. As much as they wanted to try and play around the sidelines, try and set up that crossfire, Motive have not been able to, because Turns has been an absolute nuisance up here. But here it is, round 5 closing up, and now with round 6 afterwards, they're going to be forced out of this high ground position faster than Motive will be.
Yeah, you can see Messiah's, already made that move to try to kind of find those angles here, give some opportunity for Turns to play with as well, but even that isn't any kind of cover to truly bark at here for this roster. So as a result, once that drop comes through, I mean, one good full send, a singularity from Crow, the follow-up on that damage, some of the beams that you're beginning to see here, I think that's enough.
Yeah, it's all about the patience turn. Finally forced to drop down. They are grouped up as a 2-man, and here comes all of the ordnance. The black hole catching Turns in. They are isolated out. Messiah's cracked. Turns will fall, and Motive will end the night with the win. That's going to be 2 wins on the night and the secure on the $350 bonus.
Hey, congratulations to them. I feel like they're one of those squads that, even though we didn't get the best showing of them from games 2 to 5, some rat performances or some early falls, they still were in a position where they were continuing to keep themselves competitive, net themselves the points that kept them at the very, very top of that leaderboard. So, albeit it was a kind of slow finish there, they wanted to make sure that they closed out strong and walked away with, of course, that first place that they deserve.
Yeah, we said after that 32-point game, that 20-kill win in game number 1, all they needed to do was secure 5 to 10 points every single round, and that's exactly what they did. Then here, coming in out in game number 6 with that win, just absolutely securing it. We saw some sliver of brilliances before we had our internet issues last week and had to cancel out the evening a bit early, but Motive are definitely proving themselves worthy to be competing here up against our partnered squads on open night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing about Open Night. You obviously get some of those maybe lesser-known entities that sometimes show up and provide. That's where we talked about very early on the season when it was Spectre, right? They were the ones that came out with that first-place victory on an Open Night, and it's the reason why even between the two of us, we've continued to talk about them, for the last 4 weeks when they continue to show up here. So maybe this is just the beginning of the story for Motive, as maybe they show up again next time around.
Yeah, joining the likes of teams like Start a Fight as well, who have been continually performing well on our open nights. So a great place to find yourself, especially amongst those squads, but also basically netting yourself a huge 100 points across, $100 across all 3 players as a bonus for a night of Apex. It's pretty nice for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe for us, I assume that's it. We'll be joining Yesa with the leaderboard.
Yeah, let's go ahead and send it on over to Yesa to break down our action today and, of course, announce our winners. Thank you so much, Zephyr, for being an absolute champion and closing out this show so well as I was dealing
trying
our over here. Amazing job, but you go ahead and take it away, my man.
Oh shit! Hey everybody. Sorry, that last game kind of put me to sleep there. But Motive grabbed the win. Hello, hi, hey, we're over here. What's going on? Yeah, let's just say sitting there and watching Motive and Nerf trade pot shots for about what, 7 minutes there. Not the most exciting Apex gameplay I've ever seen. And I was very curious because I honestly thought that game was going to end before Circle 3 even closed. So let's all calm down with the W keys. That's all I'm asking, please. Like, can everybody just relax a little bit in the early game so that the last half of it is not a snooze fest? That's all I ask. Back to business though. Motive, congratulations, big win. They bookend the night here in Series E, wins in games 1 and 6. They close out strong. Zephyr also making a really good point, talking about how they really kind of kept themselves in a really good position in games 2 through 5, kept themselves up near the top of the leaderboard, even if they weren't winning games, even if they were dealing with some struggles. They had a huge opportunity going into game 6, and they took advantage of it here. Not a huge game from Motive in the kills department, especially when you compare to their game 1 performance, but they took care of business. 5 kills for the squad. They take 17 points overall in that final game, and that is the way you want to close things out. And of course, they won the fights that mattered most. So well played from Motive there. Let's check out our final Mobile 1 high performance moment here of the night here. And it's probably going to be the chaos here. Yeah, this is where I thought the game honestly might end. Intel mixing things up, or it was, I should say, just after this fight. But Intel, this was where I thought Intel maybe we're going to start building that momentum towards a night-ending victory. Of course, they got caught between a rock and start a fight in their next fight after this one, but just pretty clean here up against Spectre. And James Fearless, man, you put a flatline in his hand, you put a car in his hand, it doesn't much matter. If he has something that can deal damage, he's going to make you pay. And Mooney and Impulse looking so clean as well. Beautiful shots with the flatline PK here from Mooney. Mooney just beaming as James just holds outside of this door, the well-placed black hole. And it's just real good from Intel as they just wipe out Spectre Esports. Let's check out that Mobile 1 leaderboard. Let's see where everything shook out on our overall standings. No surprise to see Motive at the top, but Excedrin just eking out that second place finish there, a point ahead of Start a Fight. And Mike and Ike and Razer round out the top 5. Hats off to Razer here. Their best performance of the season so far. That was a great showing from them. Showing up strong in their sponsored week. It is Razer week here. They look good. Mike and Ike looking incredible. A lot of good performances here from the sponsored squads, as you can see. Look, Tyson, Nerf, Intel, Razer, Mike and Ike, and Excedrin all in the top 8. Just Vizio outside of the top 10 here today. So that'll definitely shake things up on those overall standings here in Series E, and definitely going to be a lot on the line tomorrow as we get our first official pro night tomorrow night. We're going to have a stacked lobby tomorrow. Do not miss out. It's 4 o'clock Pacific time right here at twitch.tv/esports arena. We'll have all the action for you. I'm looking forward to it. I know the players are as well. It's going to be a hell of a good time. That does it here for us tonight. A reminder, pick up Razer products and more from our partners over at walmart.com/esports arena. Don't miss out on any of the action the remainder of this week. And have a great rest of your night, everybody. For myself, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. We'll see you again tomorrow.